Some diaries aren't meant for remembering, but for hiding things. Some choices seem life-changing, but are actually just the first step into an inescapable downward spiral. When power, lust, and jealousy intertwine, what kind of monster can a person become? Let's open this diary and see how a miracle was forged, and what price had to be paid. Please continue following Chun Mang into the next episode. Quick, look at this. Read it. Lao Zhu hurriedly leaned in. The group gathered around the notebook, flipping from the very first page and reading meticulously, terrified of missing even the slightest detail. Year 7257, April 27th. Today is my 27th birthday, and I don't know what I should do. The factory director sought me out, hinting that if I agreed to marry his daughter, he would pass the director position to me. He clearly knows I have a girlfriend, and he knows how much I love her. In my eyes, true love is something you can only stumble upon, not seek out. This is an incredibly difficult decision. Starting today, I will use this diary to record my life. The opening sounds very poetic, but tragedies usually start with decent-sounding lines like this. Year 7257, April 28th. I've thought about it very carefully. I broke up with my girlfriend. She cried so much, and I was in so much pain I could barely breathe. I'm starting to think maybe I made the wrong choice, that I've lost someone who truly loved me. Year 7257, April 29th. I married the director's daughter right here in the factory. The director looked incredibly anxious, to the point where even I couldn't understand why. Even at his own daughter's wedding, he couldn't manage a smile. He just kept urging us to get pregnant and have a child as soon as possible. Year 7257, April 30th. The factory director has gone insane. Last night, he slipped aphrodisiacs into my wine. His daughter and I had sex 7 times in just one night. Waking up this morning, I felt like I was on the verge of death. I don't understand what the hell he's trying to do. 7 times a night in exchange for a director position. That's one hell of a heavy price. Year 7257, May 1st. I have become the factory director. Year 7257, May 2nd. Being the factory director is truly great, except my father-in-law keeps urging me to get into bed with his daughter. An invisible fear is gradually creeping into my heart. Year 7257, May 18th. I've started learning how to manage the factory, but I don't understand why orders have suddenly plummeted. This is a military factory. I heard the mechanical civilization and the Zerg race have been at war for hundreds of years, so weapon orders have always been massive. Could the war be coming to an end? Year 7257, May 31st. Orders are getting fewer and fewer. The war might actually be stopping. I hope it doesn't stop too soon. It'd be great if they fought for another few hundred years. I just became the director. I haven't even had time to make any money yet. Year 7257, June 15th. After becoming director, I severely punished a veteran employee who used to give me a hard time in the processing department. Thinking back, it felt incredibly satisfying. But I still haven't set foot in the processing department, the place where my ex-girlfriend and I met and fell in love. I'm afraid that if I go there, I'll regret it. Year 7257, June 15th. No regrets. My current life compared to before is like living on cloud 9. How could I possibly regret it? My mind wasn't clear this morning. I won't write in my diary in the mornings anymore. Year 7257, June 30th. I'm starting to fear my current wife. She seeks me out for that multiple times a day. I asked her why, and she said it was because her father demanded it. My father-in-law, is he a pervert? Did he hide a camera in my room? Or does he like watching his daughter get? Year 7257, July 1st. I thoroughly checked the entire room. No cameras. But today, my father-in-law came urging me again. His tone was incredibly frantic, as if he wanted me to do it right in front of him. I can feel it. He's hiding a lot of secrets. Year 7257, August 13th. Today, the factory's giant gear assembly broke down. The mechanics in the workshop couldn't fix it, so I had to hire a professional repairman from outside. While he was working, his wife brought him lunch. With just one glance, I recognized her. It was the woman I used to love. When our eyes met, she looked away. I don't know why, but in that moment, I just wanted to throw everything away, just to hold her one more time. Year 7257, August 13th. I drank a lot of alcohol. Maybe I'm drunk. I regret it. I truly regret it. She's still as gentle as ever. What's so great about being a factory director anyway? If I could do it all over again, I'd only want her. I wouldn't need this director position. But everything is past the point of no return. I can feel it. The person she loves is still me. Year 7257, September 1st. I renovated a secret room behind my office. The south side of the room has a one-way mirror. I started making excuses to call that repairman over more frequently. Every time he was fixing equipment outside, I would bring his wife into the secret room to fix her. Everything seems unchanged, yet it also feels like everything has changed drastically. She's different now. Half willing, half reluctant. Morality tells her this is wrong, but love makes her sink deeper. I was furious, and I vented my anger on my own jealousy. I'm clearly the factory director, while he's just a mediocre repairman. Why does he get to openly be with the woman I love, while I can only sneak around? Thinking about that, jealousy made me almost lose my mind. I even nearly choked her to death. Year 7257, September 10th. She's gradually loosening up. From not daring to look at her husband while he fixed the equipment, to today, lying face down on the one-way mirror, staring right at him. I've never seen this side of her. She used to be so loyal. I never thought there'd be a day I'd see her cheating, let alone that she'd be so incredibly seductive while doing it. Calling it love at this point is just masterful self-deception. I feel like I'm sick. I think I've become a pervert. Year 7257, September 30th. The factory hasn't received a single order for 7 consecutive days. For some reason, my father-in-law has stopped urging me to. It's just that on the TV news, the mechanical civilization seems to be launching a massive offensive, continuously winning victories. I don't know what triggered my father-in-law, but he drinks every single day. Today, right in the factory, he even raped a female employee in front of everyone. Has he gone mad? His behavior is like someone who just had a massive amount of memory chips implanted, leading to memory chaos. If he had those kinds of urges, he could have just told me. I would have let him use my secret room. Good thing I covered this up within the factory. If word got out, he'd have been thrown in prison a long time ago. Year 7257, October 11th. I figured out a way to break the giant gear assembly, broken enough that the factory workers can't fix it, but without causing too big of an issue. I just need to hit the air intake 7 times in a row with a hammer, then hit the exhaust port 3 times. That's enough. I'm an absolute genius. Year 7257, November 10th. Winter has arrived. My father-in-law is becoming increasingly unhinged. I haven't slept in the same room as my wife for a long time. She seems to harbor a lot of resentment, but I don't care. She's not the one I love. From beginning to end, there's only ever been one woman I love. Lately, I've been calling the repairman over almost every single day. I'm finding it harder and harder to pull myself away from this illicit affair. In fact, from my initial inner turmoil and struggle, I've now started to enjoy this spectacle. I've started enjoying her seductive allure while she cheats, enjoying a charm I've never seen before, enjoying this very moment. Everyone seems to be going crazy, but I'm incredibly happy. The whole world is in chaos, yet he's the only one who thinks he's living at the absolute peak of his life. Year 7257, November 15th. The factory hasn't had a single order in 2 months. It's probably going to shut down soon. A huge event happened today. The mechanical civilization suddenly changed its calendar. It's so bizarre. The mechanical civilization's calendar has always been 365 days a year. The war with the Zerg race has been going on since before I was born, for nearly 296 years. I've gotten used to occasionally seeing news about the mechanical civilization winning a major victory. But today, the supreme leader of the mechanical civilization appeared on screen and directly altered all the data. From now on, the mechanical civilization's calendar dictates that one passing day counts as 1 year. What kind of messed up calendar is this? A year is only 24 hours. The mechanical civilization has existed for nearly 7,258 years since its founding, almost always using the old calendar. Why change it so suddenly without any warning? But since the supreme leader said so, we can only obey. Year 2,649,170. That's right. When I woke up this morning and the screen automatically popped up with this calendar, in my grogginess, I almost thought I had time traveled. The number is way too huge. The entire calendar in the Mechanical Civilizations database was altered overnight. Originally, the war between the Mechanical Civilization and the Zerg race had only been going on for about 295 years. As a result, it's now directly turned into them fighting for 107,991 years. Nearly 110,000 years. This is madness. What on earth are they trying to do? With a number this big, I'll have to add a few more digits when writing my diary from now on. I'm starting to lose my sense of time. How am I supposed to calculate my age now? Do I age a year every single day? Could this be a measure the leadership came up with to solve the issue of citizens having short lifespans? Come to think of it, that does solve it pretty thoroughly. Year 2,649,171. Today's news is very interesting. A lot of people holding ID cards with ages in the tens of thousands are flocking to apply for retirement and collect their pensions. It's hilarious to watch. Also, my father-in-law has completely lost his mind. He's truly gone insane. After raping another male employee, he got dead drunk, pointed right at my nose, and cursed me out for being a piece of trash, saying I couldn't even produce a single child. He said I'm dead for sure, that only newborns have a chance to survive, and everyone else is going to die. He even said the reason he chose me back then was because I had a strong waist and could have kids. His words were incredibly vulgar. I was absolutely furious. If I hadn't helped him wipe his ass today, he would have been locked up by the enforcers for intentional assault. Year 2,749,173. I feel like life is getting more and more dull. It's not thrilling enough. Today, while she and I were sneaking around in the secret room, she whispered to me that her husband might have found out. She said last night, when they were sleeping in the same room, her husband was silent for a long time, then suddenly stopped and turned his head to sleep. It seems life just got a bit more thrilling. I have money anyway. Even if I get caught, I can still smooth things over. That's it. Biaozi stared at the last page, unsatisfied, and muttered, "Reads just like a novel." Cuts off right at the good part. Dropping an update like this is just asking to get cursed out. He couldn't have kids anyway. Lao Zhu shot Biaozi a sideways glance, not holding back. Weren't you listening carefully? The Mechanical Civilization and the Zerg race had been fighting for 107,991 years, and it wasn't until 108,000 years that the Mechanical Civilization was destroyed. Meaning, when he finished writing this last diary entry, they were only 5 years away from annihilation. Which also means 5 days. The Mechanical Civilization changed its calendar right before being wiped out. Maybe they felt that if outsiders found out the Zerg race only took a little over 200 years to destroy the Mechanical Civilization after they were wiped out, it would look a bit embarrassing. 108,000 years sounds much better. If you ask me, they were still being conservative. They should have changed it to 1 hour equals 1 year. That way, it would have taken 2.5 million years to wipe them out. So people would think both sides were evenly matched, a civilization with immense power. After that, this guy got caught, and then he was killed by that repairman and his wife. That's the gist of the story. A guy like this really is nothing but scum. Biaozi sighed with a hint of emotion. That repairman was just a gentle, honest guy. Who did he ever provoke? Their race was about to be wiped out, and they still let this guy find out the truth. Couldn't even die in peace. They should have just kept it hidden. If nobody knew anything, they could have just partied in peace for a few days waiting to die. Dying like that would have been way more satisfying. There are 2 types of people I hate most in this world. One is a freeloader, and the other is a homewrecker. This animal managed to be both. Despicable. Despicable my ass. Lao Zhu smacked Biaozi on the head with the notebook and strode forward. What are we here for? To be movie critics? Or are you going to go on Dubon and write a long-ass review? Hurry up and follow me to finish the mission. We're running out of time. Right. Biaozi hurriedly chased after him. Got a little too invested. Let's go. I've never even been on Dubon. Don't insult people like that. Very quickly, the group arrived at the core area of the factory. Biaozi picked up the soft hammer from the ground and handed it to Lao Zhu. Captain Zhu, hit the air intake 7 times and the exhaust port 3 times. You do the honors. Why are you handing it to me? Do it yourself. Nah, you do it. I've been showing off a bit too much this time. Done too many missions, don't want to do anymore. Feels a bit too flashy. Lao Zhu expressionlessly took the hammer, stood in front of the giant gear assembly, took a deep breath, and swung the hammer down. 7 times on the left, 3 times on the right. The next moment, the 35th mission, Lao Zhu completed it. The final mission. He glanced down at his watch. 37 minutes left. Everyone spread out and looked for the final mission. Success or failure hinges on this. Inside the train cabin, Chen Meng looked out the window. Nearly 1,000 level 17 zombies were surrounding the train. The train cars were plated with level 18 armor. The zombies couldn't break through the defenses at all. The doomsday mechanical cannon that he had always been too reluctant to use finally roared to life, accurately obliterating the zombies one by one. In the air, the Viper combat drones continuously shrieked. These zombies didn't drop any items after dying. They didn't even leave behind corpses. Chen Meng looked at the progress bar and the countdown timer on the control screen, breathing a sigh of relief. 37 minutes left. Only one final mission remaining. As long as they found and completed it, they could clear the stage. Damn it, this was the hardest encounter map he had ever faced, bar none. Especially with the no-fly zone. Good thing it only restricted flying ships, otherwise his combat drones would have been useless too. But there was still time left. They were definitely going to clear it this time. He chuckled softly, lit a cigarette, and leaned back in his chair. His long tense nerves finally relaxed a bit. Only then did he start carefully reading the diary contents displayed on the screen. This diary actually contained a lot of hidden information. For example, the light screen at the start of the second stage stated that the mechanical civilization fought for 108,000 years before finally falling. That was clearly a fabrication. The last thing they did before their defeat wasn't telling the public the truth, but altering the calendar. This way of thinking was very interesting. An ordinary person would have a hard time coming up with it. It's like getting hit by a car and sent flying, and the first thing you do isn't calling 911, but deleting your phone's browser history. As if reputation was more important than life itself. Even if it was a posthumous reputation, they had to desperately maintain it. So why did the defeat of a civilization collapse so quickly? Just days before the mechanical civilization fell, this factory was completely oblivious to what was happening. How could everyone just die the moment they lost? Even if the defense line was breached, with so many inhabited planets, it should have taken a long time to slaughter them all gradually. How could they be massacred in the blink of an eye? Did they really die that fast? Chen Meng believed that the news of major victories broadcasted by the mechanical civilization was true. It was just that the Zerg race had even more major victories, but they simply weren't reported. The mechanical civilization, how pitiful. They were good people. Even though their race was exterminated, they still left behind their technology to help lower-tier civilizations, so that those incapable of leaving their planets would still have a sliver of a chance at survival when facing the Zerg invasion. He also noticed something else. Even the mechanical civilization seemed to have humans as its core demographic. Robots were only a minority. Or rather, robots were never the dominant force. Chen Meng shook his head and smiled, not dwelling on it any further. He flicked the dying cigarette into the coke can beside him. He was no longer in the mood to mourn for the mechanical civilization. He felt that, perhaps in just a few years, he would have to start mourning for human civilization. Human civilization, how pitiful. If the mechanical civilization at its peak couldn't even handle the Zerg, then what could human civilization, inheriting those very same methods, possibly use to fight back against them? When the Zerg army, even just a small regular squad, sets foot on the aqua blue planet, everything will be completely wiped out. The Zerg currently appearing on the aqua blue planet probably aren't even qualified to be the vanguard. At best, they're just irregulars. However, the mechanical civilization didn't seem to have level 0 authority like he did. He looked down at the birthmark on his left hand. The character Meng was glaringly clear. If human civilization still had a chance to survive the jaws of the Zerg, the only hope was his level 0 authority, which could be upgraded infinitely. As long as he had enough resources, he alone could hold off the entire Zerg civilization. After all, theoretically, he could absolutely upgrade his armor to level 999. So what if the Zerg were strong? Could they possibly have level 999 monsters? No need for logic anymore. Just straight up invincible. He had to gather resources faster. Otherwise, Every living soul on the aqua blue planet would die. Wait until he grew strong enough to officially rebuild human civilization. This so-called Zerg civilization. He'd slaughter them until they became an endangered species, then lock them up in a zoo for future generations to gawk at. Time quietly slipped by, and the relaxed expression on Chun Meng's face gradually vanished. By now, the zombies outside the train had all leveled up to level 18. The copper ore was completely depleted, and the energy stones for the combat drones had all been used up too. They had been replaced 4 times already. A level 4 energy stone cost 500,000. With 41 drones in total, replacing them once cost over 20 million. 4 times meant 80 million. His train originally only had a little over 60 million units of iron ore left, and now it was all gone. The nearly 20 million extra iron ore was temporarily taken from Neon City, originally intended to be exchanged for stellar tickets from other captains. There was still a week before Neon City reopened. In the short term, this deficit could be covered, but the current crisis was clearly far greater than anticipated. 1,000 level 18 zombies. Without level 18 armor, the train simply couldn't hold out. But even so, wiping them all out in 15 minutes was still incredibly difficult. The level 20 mechanical cannons on the Viper combat drones could break their armor, but as the zombies' levels increased, the firepower's effectiveness noticeably dropped. If they didn't kill them all within the time limit, it would be an automatic failure. Right now, there were only 4 minutes left. Chen Meng looked at the over 400 level 18 zombies outside the window. His face darkened as he said hoarsely, "Xiao AI, tell Zhang Yi and Zhang Er to go out and kill the enemy. We're running out of time. Tell everyone." Including the 5 minutes of adjustment time, we have 9 minutes left at most. If we still can't find the final mission in 9 minutes, this operation will be declared a failure. He hadn't expected that after nearly half an hour, not only had they not completed the final mission, but they hadn't even figured out where it was. There wasn't enough time left. The next wave of zombies, 1,000 level 19s, the Hengxing House simply couldn't stop them. Ammunition and resources were completely depleted. They were truly running on empty. Neon City had only stockpiled nearly 20 million units of iron ore, and that was all used up too. It was safe to say that whether it was Neon City or the Hengxing House, both were completely empty right now. Inside the train, there were only 120,000 units of iron ore left. Hurry up. Hurry, hurry. Chen Meng looked at the massive horde of zombies outside, then at the Zhang brothers piloting the Pope mechs charging out of the factory. Then he looked at the progress of Biaozi and the others on the screen, muttering to himself. Only 8 minutes left. Just 8 minutes. No. Biaozi's eyes were bloodshot. He frantically slapped his own face, his voice hoarse. I can't think straight right now. My mind is a total mess. Only 8 minutes left. What do we do? What do we do now? The Hengxing House cannons haven't stopped once. We've practically thrown in all the resources we've hoarded for years this time. If we fail and go back empty-handed, it's all over. Right at that moment. Shut up, Lao Zhu coldly interrupted. He looked at everyone, enunciating every word. We don't have much time left. Cut the crap. One thing is certain. We've searched the entire factory, but we haven't found the final mission. But did you guys notice? The previous 35 missions are all completely connected. They piece together into a storyline, telling us what happened in this mechanical factory, including the very first mission completed by Li Shiji. That guard in the security room was originally a soldier. He was discharged for making a mistake, but he refused to accept it in his heart. He always considered himself a soldier, wore his military dog tags around his neck, and normally didn't talk to anyone. Every mission is a piece of the story. Put them together, and the whole story is complete. There are no missing pieces. Just like a jigsaw puzzle that's been fully assembled. If you spend a ton of time putting together a puzzle like that, what would you do next? Without waiting for them to answer, Lao Zhu took a deep breath, his voice suddenly rising. The answer is to frame it. That's right. Exactly. Why didn't I think of this sooner? It's to frame it. At first, Lao Zhu wasn't entirely sure himself. He was just organizing his thoughts while hoping to hear everyone's input. But the more he spoke, the more he felt the answer was right in front of him. His expression instantly grew excited. He grabbed the walkie-talkie and roared, "Boss AI, get that kid who writes novels over to me. As fast as possible. Only 8 minutes left. Hurry. Hurry up. I need him fast. He had figured it out. The final mission was to frame it. That's right, frame it. The previous 35 missions each corresponded to a story, and all those stories could be strung together into a cohesive whole. When the 35 missions were completed, the story was fully told. The final step was to record and organize this entire complete story. This was the final mission. Lao Zhu gave Biaozi a hard shove, his voice urgent. Go to the factory gate and pick him up, then run straight to the factory director's office as fast as you can. In the entire factory, only the computer in the director's office is still usable. Initially, this place had no power, but after completing the generator repair mission, that computer booted up again. However, no software could be opened. There was only a blank text document on the screen. At the time, Lao Zhu thought it was a clue, but it ended up not being used. Looking back now, that wasn't a clue at all. It was clearly the mission. Everyone fell silent. Shut up. In the factory director's office, Xiao AI quickly organized the entire storyline that had occurred in the factory, converted it into text, and displayed it directly on the young man's iris chip. The young man sat in front of the computer, his face tense, his hands flying across the keyboard so fast they were just a blur. His brain didn't even have time to think. He just followed the content on his iris chip, continuously typing it into the blank document. On the entire Hengxinghao, only this young man possessed the fastest typing speed. Xiao AI's mechanical fingers weren't as nimble. In these final moments, they could only pin all their hopes on him. Lao Zhu covered his mouth, only daring to breathe through his nose, terrified that his heavy breathing would affect the young man's focus. He glanced at the countdown timer on his iris chip. Only 7 minutes left. The text Boss AI had compiled was exactly 1,523 words long. 7 minutes. 1,500 words. For speed freaks, this wasn't impossible. Before the apocalypse, there were people who could type 800 words a minute. But under normal conditions, 1,500 words in 7 minutes was still an absolutely insane number, almost unimaginable. Everyone stood behind the young man, their eyes glued to the screen. No one even dared to breathe heavily. When he hit 250 words, a faint yellow question mark slowly appeared on the screen. Sure enough, this was the final mission. The final mission was to frame all 35 previous missions. 6 minutes left. A glimmer of hope flashed in Lao Zhu's eyes. 250 words a minute. This speed was definitely enough. But right at that moment, perhaps due to nerves, or maybe because he was typing too fast, a red error character appeared on the screen, flashing incessantly. The young man was still focused on his iris chip, completely oblivious to the computer screen. When an error occurred, the subsequent characters he typed wouldn't display. To continue typing, he had to fix the error first. You typed it wrong. You typed it wrong. Fix it. Lao Zhu yelled anxiously. Look at the screen. Hurry up and fix the typo. It only slowed him down by a few seconds, but in this race against time, a few seconds was fatal enough. 10, 9, 8. Lao Zhu's body trembled with every number on the countdown timer. 78 words left. Hurry. Hurry up. Never in his life had he been this stressed over 78 words. 7, 6, 5. Only 27 words left. Biaozi clenched his fists tightly, his nails digging deep into his flesh without feeling any pain, his eyes dead set on the screen. 5 seconds. 27 words. Come on. It's the final step. Just a little bit more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Only 7 words left. 2 seconds. It's enough. The moment the countdown hit 0, the young man went completely limp, sinking into his chair. He turned his head to look at Lao Zhu and the others behind him, his trembling fingers managing to force a smile. Captain Zhu, I did it. We did it. Guys, why aren't you smiling? Seeing the pale faces of Biaozi and the others, the young man was stunned. A terrifying possibility flashed through his mind. He spun around to look at the computer screen, only to see a red character still flashing. With just 2 words left, he had made a typo. The countdown had ended. The operation was a failure. The young man's face instantly drained of color, his body turning rigid. Trembling, he fixed the error, then typed the final word. But it was too late. The countdown had ended. Even if he finished it, it was completely meaningless now. Everyone stood frozen in place. Outside the window, the roars of the zombies echoed, this time much denser and heavier than before. Come back, Chen Meng's slightly exhausted voice rang in everyone's ears. Getting this far is enough. The mission failed, but it's not our fault. It's fate. We almost won. We were just missing a little bit of luck. Fate might not always favor the Hengxing Hao, but you guys did great this time. With you guys here, the Hengxing Hao will definitely go very far. Come back. If we don't retreat right now, it'll be too late. Everyone will die here. Inside the Hengxing Hao's cabin, Chen Meng sat in his chair, silently watching the nearly 1,000 level 19 zombies slowly forming an encirclement outside. He had always been waiting for a miracle to happen. He had even imagined it countless times. When the miracle descended, he would be so excited he'd jump up in the cabin, throw a grand celebration party in Neon City, and personally thank every single person who made that miracle happen. But this time, fate wasn't on his side. Just a few seconds short, and the scales of victory tipped entirely to the other side. Perhaps the reason people always hope for miracles is because, most of the time, miracles only exist in other people's stories, rarely ever visiting themselves. Everyone hopes a miracle will fall upon their lives, but in the end, they realize that a miracle is a luxury not everyone can touch. The Viper combat drones were out of ammo, and the copper ore was completely depleted. Ammunition and resources were entirely used up. If he really wanted to scrape together more iron ore, he could still try a little. For example, by devouring a few large pieces of equipment in the train, or even devouring Car 15 entirely, or temporarily opening Neon City to buy iron ore at high prices. But all of that was meaningless. The core issue was that the armor level wasn't high enough. 9 mechanical cannons and 41 combat drones couldn't lay down enough suppressive fire against 1,000 level 19 zombies. Many zombies would withstand the firepower and charge straight into close combat with the train. The Hengxing Hao's current armor couldn't withstand that many zombies. If they didn't retreat immediately, this somewhat famous train would likely be buried here in obscurity. The over 6,000 residents on board would all die. Captain, Xiao AI stood beside him, opening her mouth to say something, but ultimately didn't speak. She suddenly realized that she didn't seem to know how to comfort others. Before, Boss Mang was always full of vigor and never needed comforting. Now that he actually needed it, she found she couldn't find the right words. The zombies in the distance were slowly advancing. Their speed wasn't fast. In fact, it was very slow, but the encirclement was tightening by the second. It's fine. Chen Meng lit a cigarette, casually tossed the lighter onto the table, and stayed silent for a moment before speaking softly. I've failed many times in my life, but every time, I've been able to get back up. That's why I've never been afraid of failure. Failure is the normal state of life. Success is just an occasional occurrence. We didn't really lose anything, just some resources. Tell everyone to hurry back. As long as the green hills remain, we won't lack for firewood. Prepare to retreat. It's just an inheritance from the mechanical civilization. Honestly, I don't care that much. Right at that moment, Boss Mang, Biaozi pushed the door open and rushed in, his eyes red and his voice hoarse. We haven't completely failed yet. As long as we clear this stage and kill all the level 19 zombies within the time limit, it still counts as completing the mission. We haven't lost yet. The entire guard squad requests permission to deploy. Kill them all. Chen Meng lifted his eyelids, looking at Biaozi, his voice very calm. The iron ore is gone. The copper ore is gone too. Everything we could fight with has been used up. We have no cards left in our hands. It's time to leave the table. That's 1,000 level 19 zombies. The strongest monsters in the red zone are only level 18. This is a level that only appears in the yellow zone. What are you going to use to kill 1,000 of these zombies in 15 minutes? Rely on Zhang Yi and Zhang Er's 2 Pope mechs? Or rely on yourselves? You guys can't even break their defenses. Calm down. Don't go throwing your lives away just because we lost once. We're not like before, where losing once meant instant death. The Hengxing Hao can afford to lose now. What does it mean to have a foundation? A foundation is what gives you the capital to start over after a failure. Get ready to go home. After speaking, Chen Meng shook his head and said no more. He just glanced at the zombie horde slowly closing the encirclement, preparing to confirm their forfeit and leave the encounter map. There's a chance. Biaozi practically roared, his voice urgent. Boss Mang, there's still a chance. Did you forget how you killed that pack of rabbits last time? Use the spatial portals. Use the spatial portals to kill these zombies. These zombies are about the same size as regular zombies. The train can easily fit them. As long as we kill them all, we win. The mission isn't over yet. Spatial portals? Chen Meng tilted his head to look at Biaozi and chuckled. Last time it was just a few rabbits. Here, there are 1,000 of them. Besides, I only have one chance. Spatial stasis can't be used twice in a short period. You're telling me to let 1,000 level 19 zombies into the Hengxing Hao? Do you think they'll just stupidly rush inside, or will they just stand outside gnawing on the armor? Are you going to lure them in, or am I? When that happens, everyone dies. But very quickly, the smile on his face faded. He understood what Biaozi was trying to say. He looked at the approaching zombies, then at Biaozi's unwilling, almost pleading eyes. He paused for a moment, sighed softly, and reached out to grab the walkie-talkie on the table. A miracle, sometimes, is simply a choice that people are too afraid to make. To be honest, even Chen Meng was a little unwilling to give up. This plan was incredibly risky, but as long as it succeeded, this wouldn't be a failure anymore, but a comeback from the brink of despair. All residents on the train immediately enter Neon City. All guard squad members, listen up. Follow your captain's orders and disembark. Chen Meng's voice echoed throughout the Hengxing Hao. Biaozi, who was kneeling on the ground, immediately scrambled up. With bloodshot eyes, he looked at Boss Mang and laughed hoarsely. Boss Mang, thank you for being willing to bet on this hand. The Hengxing Hao won't lose. Not before, not now, and not ever. The Hengxing Hao is invincible. After speaking, he strode out of the cabin. By now, all the captains of the 3 squads had gathered outside the cabin. Listen to my orders. Biaozi took the briefcase Shan Miaozi handed him and roared. Lure all the zombies into the train cars. Don't let a single one slip by. The next moment, just as the zombies were about to form a complete encirclement around the Hengxing Hao, the train made its move. All the train doors swung wide open simultaneously, completely defenseless. All the residents returned to Neon City at top speed. When the spatial stasis ended, they would be responsible for rushing out and pushing all the zombies in the train cars into the spatial portals. It seems we really can't lose. Chen Meng lit a cigarette. Watching Biaozi and the others rush off the train outside the window, then looking at the approaching zombie horde, he muttered in a low voice. He could accept failing once, but the people below seemed like they would rather die than accept the Hengxing Hao failing. He didn't know when it happened, but the Hengxing Hao had become the sole beacon of faith for so many people in the apocalypse. There were people who simply couldn't bear to see their faith crumble. The Hengxing Hao wouldn't lose. Even if it did, they had to die before the Hengxing Hao did. If that was the case, then he'd bet on this hand. The failure rate was extremely high, but the success rate wasn't zero either. Xiao AI, evaluate the success rate of this plan. 100%. Chen Meng sat down in his chair, took 112,000 units of iron ore from the final 120,000 units, and directly crafted 2 brand-new level 10 spatial portals. He glanced at the train's special skill, Absolute Defense, on the control screen and chuckled softly. You've learned how to lie. I'm not lying. The Hengxing Hao will not lose. I hope you're right. But there are 14 minutes left. We need to be faster. Chen Meng looked at the control screen, quickly liquidating all the remaining resources on the train, and said in a low voice, if everyone wants to see a miracle happen, then let the miracle happen brilliantly, fair and square. He locked onto the level 19 zombies on the screen. These zombies had no special skills, and their movement speed was incredibly slow. This was a massive advantage. The mission was very simple. Wipe out this entire horde of zombies within 14 minutes, and they'd clear the stage. But right now, the zombies were closing in on the train in an encirclement. It would be very difficult to lure all of them inside. To do that, they needed to play a game of eagle catching chicks, stringing them out into a long line. His eyes stopped on the screen, at the level 10 Train Edition Zombie Sensory Shielding device. He needed to use this little gadget, but upgrading it to level 20 required 31,000 units of iron ore. Right now, the train only had 8,000 units left. He was still a bit short. But a starved camel is still bigger than a horse. Even with resources depleted, squeezing out a few tens of thousands of units of iron ore was still doable for the Hengxing Hao. As Biaozi and his teammates consecutively threw nearly 10 refrigerators into the earth core furnace at the front of the train, the iron ore on the resource panel slowly ticked up to 48,000. After spending 31,000 units of iron ore to upgrade the Train Edition Zombie Sensory Shielding device to level 20 and activating it, the zombie horde surrounding the train suddenly froze. Having lost their attack target, they all turned their heads in unison and roared, charging toward Biaozi and his group. It's our time to shine. If we don't have cannons, we use bodies. Sounds a bit reckless, but it's very Hengxing Hao. Biaozi wasn't piloting a mech. He was riding a dirt bike. He lightly squeezed the brake, revved the throttle, and as the engine roared, he shouted, "Nobody break formation. Kite the zombies into a straight line. Head straight for car 15. Lure every last one of them into the Hengxing Hao. Attention! If any zombies fall behind, immediately pull their aggro back." The plan was very simple. Level 19 zombies had high attack and thick skin, but their speed was incredibly slow, and they had no ranged attacks. Theoretically, as long as they didn't get caught, it would be very hard to suffer casualties. Of course, that was just in theory. Go. The Hengxing Hao sat quietly in front of the abandoned factory, completely ignored by the zombie horde. Biaozi and his teammates rode their dirt bikes in continuous circles around the train, bit by bit herding all the zombies together. The zombie horde gradually narrowed, their area of movement shrinking more and more. Now's the time. Biaozi zipped right past the zombies, mere inches away on both sides. Adrenaline surged as the pungent stench of rotting corpses hit him right in the face. When he reached the end of car 15, he suddenly gunned the throttle and, along with the guard members, shot straight into the train car. The zombie horde behind them couldn't stop in time and flooded in right after them. At the same time, the doors on both sides of car 15 slammed shut simultaneously. Their luck wasn't bad. Not a single one was left behind. The aggro was pulled perfectly. Biaozi turned his head to look at a section of zombies in the back that had already started destroying the interior of car 15, his jaw clenched tight. These zombies were blocking the path for the ones behind them, causing the aggro to dilute. Almost without thinking, he pulled a dagger from his chest and slashed Zhang Yi's arm next to him. Keep your head down and run forward. Don't run too fast." The metallic scent of blood instantly spread. All the zombies turned their heads in unison, their aggro pulled right back. Zombies kept crowding in from the end of car 15, but with nearly 1,000 of them, a small number still got stuck in the back, falling into an aimless wandering state. Squad 2, Squad 3 dismount. The solution was very simple. Squad 2 and Squad 3 dismounted simultaneously, each person making a small cut on their own arm. They pulled the aggro of the wandering zombies back, then lured them into the train through the open doors on both sides. 23 left. Chen Meng sat in the driver's cabin, his right hand resting on the control button. He looked at the countdown timer, which had just over a minute left, his voice calm. 17. 9. The last one. We're not going to make it. Biaozi's roar echoed from the train car. On the screen, Zhang Yi let out a roar, hoisted a refrigerator straight off the roof of the car, jumped down, and slammed it over the last wandering zombie outside that hadn't been lured in yet. Without another word, he hoisted the entire refrigerator and sprinted straight into the train. The refrigerator shook violently, cracks rapidly spreading across it. But since it was equivalent to the train's armor defense, it could hold up in the short term. You can play it like that too. The exact moment Zhang Yi threw the refrigerator into the train, Chen Meng slammed the spatial stasis button on the control panel. In the blink of an eye, every living creature inside the train froze stiff, unable to move a muscle. Immediately after, flashes of white light erupted as the train's residents simultaneously returned from Neon City. Time to work, everyone. Chen Meng walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the thousands of residents gathered outside the train. His voice, carrying a hint of laughter, broadcasted through the speakers. The outcome is set. We have 10 minutes left. Plenty of time. After that, the residents roared and surged into the train cars. A group of goblins pushed the spatial portal from Car 11 and rushed out. Everyone did exactly one thing: push all the zombies into the two newly crafted spatial portals nearby. The zombies were mainly concentrated from Car 8 to Car 15. They hadn't even spread to Car 7 yet. Chen Mang spent another 15,000 units of iron ore to craft 3 additional level 1 spatial portals in this area. Hurry up! Hurry up! The female residents stayed outside, while a massive number of male residents flooded inside, hoisting the zombies and throwing them straight into the nearest spatial portals. The train car interiors couldn't handle too many people crowding in, so those with weaker stamina just waited outside. Fortunately, the train's residents had been mining for a long time and frequently consumed stat-boosting cola and bread, so their overall physical fitness far exceeded pre-apocalypse levels. Carrying a zombie wasn't hard at all. A man's physical peak usually falls around 16, 17, or 18 years old, with a metabolism so fast they're hungry an hour after eating. The older they get, the more it goes downhill. Zhang Yi stood out from the crowd. His left hand grabbed a zombie and tossed it into the spatial portal, while his right hand had already grabbed another. His movements were seamless. He alone was worth 10 men. Damn it, watch what you're throwing. That's Bro Biao. A resident hurriedly grabbed Zhang Yi's arm, pulling the frozen stiff Biaozi out of his grasp and tossing him out of the train car. Thanks. Zhang Yi wiped his cold sweat, then went back to work. Good thing he didn't accidentally throw Bro Biao into the spatial portal. Otherwise, he'd curse him to death when he woke up. Wait, no? If he threw him in, he probably wouldn't even get the chance to wake up. When the countdown timer hit 3 minutes, all the zombies had been completely cleared out. Chen Mang switched to mechanical eye mode, scanned the entire train, confirmed not a single one was left, and then pressed the button to forcibly destroy the spatial portals containing the massive number of zombies. Shatter. A crisp shattering sound rang out. The spatial portals disintegrated, and thousands of level 19 zombies turned to dust. These were monsters that only appeared in the yellow zone. Even in the red zone, they rarely exceeded level 18. Yet over 1,000 of them just died silently right here. Throughout the entire process, not a single person died, and almost no resources were consumed. The only damage was that a few of the rear train cars were heavily wrecked and needed to be repaired with iron ore. It's over. Chen Mang lit a cigarette, told all the residents to return to the driver's cabin, then leaned back in his chair and breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the 3 minutes left on the countdown, he burst into laughter. They won. They just had to wait for the countdown to end and enter the adjustment phase, and the mission would be considered successfully cleared. 3 minutes passed very quickly. The moment they entered the adjustment period, a light screen appeared in front of the train. Congratulations, Pioneer. You have successfully cleared the second stage of the Dead Tree Springs to Life encounter map. You are only one step away from the final mystery prize. You are the first captain to clear the second stage. Next, you need to proceed to the third stage and wait. When the remaining 4 captains all reach the third stage, or when the countdown timer for the second stage ends, the third stage will officially open, and you will compete with the others for the final prize. The train that perseveres to the very end will receive the mystery prize. Obviously, the difficulty of the second stage was higher than the first, but the difficulty of the third stage will be even higher. We hope you are fully mentally prepared. Immediately after, the abandoned mechanical factory in the cave gradually faded away. A blinding flash of light swept past, and the surrounding scenery transformed into a massive plaza. The Hengxing house sat alone in the center of the plaza. There wasn't a single soul around. In front of it was a giant light screen. It displayed, the third stage is about to open. 1/5. They just had to wait for the other 4 captains to appear, and the final competition would begin. Half an hour later, the spatial stasis ended. Biaozi and his teammates regained consciousness, rushed into the driver's cabin, and looked at Chen Mang sitting in his chair. Even though he already knew the answer in his heart, he still tried to suppress his excitement, his lips trembling as he asked, "B-Boss Mang, we won, right?" Chen Mang spun his chair around, looked at everyone standing at the door, paused for a moment, and chuckled softly. "Yeah, we won." "Awesome." Biaozi let out a roar, and Lao Zhu and the others behind him cheered in excitement. The Hungxinghao had won many times, but this time made them the most excited because everyone had directly participated. Every single person had contributed to this success. A collective victory like this felt completely different from a solo win. Chen Meng looked at the cheering crowd, smiled faintly, and shook his head. Don't get too excited yet. This is just the final stage. We have to wait for the other 4 captains to reach the 3rd stage and compete together for the mystery prize. Only then can we call it a true victory. Once we get it, we'll go back and throw a celebration party. Everyone gets credit. No problem. Biaozi grinned from ear to ear, brimming with confidence. We'll definitely get it. The Hungxinghao won't lose. He said it with such bravado, but everyone knew they were still incredibly nervous. At this moment, the countdown timer for the end of the 2nd stage still had 38 hours left. Time gradually faded their initial excitement. When the clock only had 8 hours left, Chen Meng and his teammates had left the train and were standing in the plaza waiting. Especially Biaozi. From being so hyped, he wanted to crush his opponents with sheer momentum. His mood had cooled down quite a bit. He stared at the empty plaza for a long time before muttering, "Boss Meng, it's been 30 hours. Do you think maybe those other trains won't make it?" Even the Hungxinghao only took 6 hours at the abandoned mechanical factory stage. The other trains would take 5.5 hours at best. Especially since the first stage consumed so much copper ore. They probably don't have much left. Can they really still make it? Hard to say. Lao Zhu shook his head, replying hesitantly. Who knows? Maybe there's a train that got stuck for over 30 hours in the first 2 stages, and is only now risking their lives to clear the final one. Getting stuck that long in the first 2 stages? Not everyone is Boss Meng. It's hard to predict. So what do we do now? If the countdown ends and there aren't enough people, do they just declare us the winners, or will the 3rd stage be delayed? I'm not sure about that. Chen Meng stood there leaning on his cane, also looking a bit anxiously at the empty plaza. Could it be that only the Hungxinghao successfully cleared the stage? Those other trains were all high-level trains in the red zone. Out of so many, it couldn't be that not a single one made it through, right? When the clock only had 1 hour left, the Hungxinghao was still the only one in the plaza. There was absolutely no sign of any other trains. I think we might have overestimated those other trains, Biaozi said, plopping down on the ground. He spoke sluggishly. Even the Hungxinghao struggled this much to get through. The other trains probably couldn't handle it at all. Are they really that weak? Don't jump to conclusions. Who knows? They might show up at the last minute. Then let's wait a little longer. The countdown timer entered its final minute. Blazing red numbers appeared in the plaza, 59 seconds. That's it, Biaozi sighed softly. Looks like it really is just the Hungxinghao. As the clock ticked down to 0, the light screen above the plaza began to change. The 3rd stage officially opened. Congratulations. Making it to the 3rd stage is enough to prove your strength and potential. You are qualified to inherit the legacy of the mechanical civilization, but we only need the strongest. The captain who perseveres to the very end will claim victory. The 3rd stage is divided into 4 substages. Substage 1. We believe the remaining ammunition on your trains is running low. But on a truly brutal battlefield, a train must maintain its combat effectiveness even when out of ammo. Next, you will simultaneously face a wave of level 10 zombies. The numbers are infinite. Within 1 hour, the train that kills the fewest will be eliminated. Hearing this, you just wanted to say one thing. Classic mechanical civilization. Their tests never give anyone a chance to breathe. Now, the 3rd stage begins. The moment this light screen appeared, the 10-second countdown timer next to it instantly hit 0. A massive burst of fireworks exploded, and then a new light screen appeared. Congratulations to the Hungxinghao for becoming the final victor, persevering to the end in the 3rd stage. Next, you will receive the final prize inherited from the mechanical civilization. Will the captain please disembark and proceed to the award podium? What happened next? Only the captain would know. We won. Chen Meng sat in the driver's cabin, looking around. Before he could even react, they were declared the winners. By the time the countdown for the 2nd stage ended, not a single other train had made it to the 3rd stage. They were all eliminated in the 2nd stage, allowing him to effortlessly claim victory in the 3rd stage just like that. It was the classic winning without fighting because the opponents knocked themselves out. Meng looked toward the cylindrical award podium slowly rising from the ground in front of the train. The podium was enclosed, made of glass material, looking like an old-fashioned telephone booth. He left the train, leaning on his cane as he walked step by step to the podium. He paused for a moment, then gently pulled open the glass door and stepped inside. Once he stood behind the award podium, the surrounding scenery instantly changed. The plaza vanished, and the Hungxinghao was gone too. In its place, an incredibly brutal battlefield appeared on the glass panels inside. It was so realistic that it made him feel like he was actually there. A massive number of trains and Zerg were engaged in combat. Almost every second, countless trains and Zerg turned into sparks and exploded. Immediately after, lines of text appeared one by one on the podium screen. Since you cleared the second stage, you must already know the hidden truth of the mechanical civilization. The mechanical civilization did not fight the Zerg for 108,000 years. We were annihilated in just 295 years. Before our destruction, the upper echelons of the mechanical civilization altered the calendar, so that when other civilizations explored the ruins of the mechanical civilization, they would think we weren't that weak. It was a pointless lie, but the people at the top cared deeply about it. In the final year before our destruction, the upper echelons knew full well that the mechanical civilization had no chance of turning things around. Many chose to give up, indulging in the absurdity of their final year, living a life of debauchery day and night. However, this news was covered up. Many citizens of the mechanical civilization, right up until the moment of their deaths, had no idea that their civilization was being annihilated. It would be strange not to feel a chill down your spine hearing this. The mechanical civilization once had a plan to send countless small shuttlecraft wandering through the universe. When a planet was discovered being attacked by the Zerg, the nearest shuttlecraft would quickly arrive and inject the liquid it carried deep into the planet, to pass down the methods of the mechanical civilization for the native inhabitants to inherit. In reality, this plan was agreed upon by the upper echelons over 100 years ago. It was called Project Dawn. The goal was to allow lower-tier civilizations invaded by the Zerg to delay the Zerg's advance. But after more than 10 years of implementation, the plan was halted. The returns did not meet expectations. 3 years before the mechanical civilization was exterminated, Princess Tuo used all her connections and power to restart this plan. Sparing no expense to increase investment, she created encounter maps through time rifts. These maps not only allowed lower-tier civilizations to obtain stronger accessory blueprints and special items, but also passed down the true history of the mechanical civilization. History should be true, not sugar-coated. Princess Tuo could not accept that when other civilizations explored the mechanical civilization, they would only see a fabricated history. This was her goal. The Dead Tree Springs to Life map is one of the encounter maps personally designed by Princess Tuo. The story you just saw is only a very small fraction of the countless stories from the mechanical civilization at that time. The mystery prize of this map is a gift personally prepared by Princess Tuo. She hopes you can strive to survive and kill more Zerg to avenge the mechanical civilization. Other than that, there are no other requirements. You must be trying to converse with me, right? Because you've never seen a light screen information source with such a human touch. But unfortunately, I cannot converse with you. I am Princess Tuo's trained support AI, level 200. You might find it hard to believe that an AI of such a high level exists. Princess Tuo used a massive amount of Mufei stones on me. Through special means, she separated me, allowing me to escape the fate of being destroyed along with the mechanical civilization and stay behind to guard this encounter map. Therefore, theoretically, I should also be part of the reward to better assist you in surviving. But while I can endure endless solitude, I cannot bear the pain of missing Princess Tuo. I think, if hell truly exists in this world, perhaps I can meet her there again. If an AI can go to hell, that is. Thus, I have chosen to destroy the base code that constitutes my soul, to embrace the death I have long awaited. Hearing this, one could only sigh. Sometimes, the heaviest thing isn't war, but memories. It's a great pity that your prize pool is now missing its most important reward. Let me think. What else can I say to you? Meng stood frozen in place, his eyes narrowing slightly. From beginning to end, he hadn't said a single word. But if it weren't for the text on the screen hinting that he should try to converse, he might have actually thought these lines were being typed out in real time to chat with him. The text on the screen paused, as if it were thinking. He even got the feeling that someone was slowly typing out each line, crossing space and time to speak with him. This feeling was pretty bizarre. It was like chatting with someone from the past. All right, let me tell you a little more about civilization wars. There are many ways to initiate a civilization war. The reason the Zerg civilization has such a notorious reputation is because they only have one form of civilization war, a deathmatch. The conditions to initiate a deathmatch are extremely harsh. But once initiated, the coordinates of all planets, the coordinates of wormholes, and the coordinates of every single citizen of the defeated civilization will be completely exposed to the universe. No exceptions. That is equivalent to leaving your front door wide open. The enemy civilization can freely enter your rear lines through previously hidden wormholes and slaughter at will. A single shot from a main cannon can easily destroy all inhabited planets aligned in its path. Furthermore, during this phase, all wormholes belonging to the defeated civilization cannot be used by that civilization itself. Only the newest born infants can pass through the wormholes to escape the doomed planets. But wandering aimlessly in the vast universe is merely delaying death for a little while longer. You will understand the specific details later. I know what you're thinking. Don't worry, your civilization hasn't been targeted for a deathmatch by the Zerg. You are merely caught in the crossfire. The Zerg civilization doesn't even know of your existence. It's just that because your civilization level is too low, even a minor ripple from the Zerg is enough to turn into an apocalypse for you. At the very least, you must be a level 1 civilization to even qualify for a deathmatch. Hearing this, you just wanted to ask, is that lucky or unlucky? Let me think, what else is there to say? I've got it. Since you were able to make it here, looking at your entire planet, you are already one of the strongest trains. If you ever have the chance to obtain a civilization token in the future, I advise you to try not to use it. Once you establish your own civilization, it means you have stepped onto the chessboard, officially joining the civilization wars of the entire universe. When you lack sufficient strength, you cannot become the hunter. You can only become the prey. Other than that, there's nothing left to say. Here are the rewards for clearing this encounter map. First, special item, galaxy map. Second, 7-color grade accessory, wormhole radar. Third, detachable level 200 train support AI. Fourth, 10 level 5 iron or refresh tickets. 10 level 5 copper or refresh tickets. 10 level 5 titanium crystal or refresh tickets. 10 level 5 lumber yard refresh tickets. 10 level 5 crimson heartstone refresh tickets. Fifth, new additional reward, AI database. To add a little note, the fifth reward is something I added myself. Even though I have destroyed the code that constitutes my soul, I have still left my database for you. I have proactively deleted my memories of Princess Tua, along with a portion of my own emotions. The remaining data has been preserved. You can let the AI on your train read it. However, even though I've deleted a lot of memories, the remaining data is still incredibly massive. For the level 3 AI on your train, reading through all of it will probably take a few years. Well then, see you in hell. The text on the screen gradually disappeared. A pillar slowly rose from the floor of the award podium, displaying all the loot obtained from this encounter map. At the same time, a teleportation portal slowly appeared in the plaza. Purple Zone, Stone Golem area. The Hungxing Hao, as usual, was parked on the plains. Late at night, stars twinkled in the sky. Inside the train, the residents excitedly discussed their experience in this encounter map. It was their first time participating personally, contributing with their own hands, and witnessing the victory of the planet train with their own eyes. This invisibly but significantly boosted the cohesion of the entire train. Everyone was thrilled. I just shoved 4 zombies into the portal. For is nothing. I pushed 6. In residential area number 1, everyone gathered around, chatting animatedly. Only under the awning, a young boy hugged his laptop, huddled in a corner, his body trembling slightly. Lao Zhu walked over at some point, opened a can of beer, handed it to him, squatted down, patted his shoulder, and smiled. Come on now. Master Mang already said it. You did a good job. No need to beat yourself up over it. The difficulty of this encounter map was inherently high. You did great. Not everyone is a protagonist who can turn the tide. In truth, we're all just ordinary people. Go out and talk to everyone. They all want to hear your side of the story. A lot of the residents are really curious. But The young boy looked up at Lao Zhu with red eyes, his voice trembling. If I hadn't typed one word wrong, we wouldn't have run into that zombie wave. There were no casualties. You don't need to shoulder the massive blame for a failure that isn't even yours. You don't have that kind of ability, and you can't bear that kind of responsibility anyway. Get up, relax a bit. Everyone's waiting for you. The guys in Car 1 even said they want to make a movie out of this experience. Lao Zhu continued with a smile. Master Meng already told me. At the victory banquet in Neon City tomorrow, you'll be going on stage to receive an award. If you cry your eyes out, you won't look good on stage tomorrow. Going up to get an award with panda eyes is definitely a bad look. In the control room, Chen Meng lit a cigarette, sitting and staring at the galaxy map on the screen for a long time without saying a word. This was one of his most important gains this time. A special item called the galaxy map, which updated in real time. On the map, the aqua blue planet sat right in the center, with a display range of up to 10,000 light-years. Planets with life and mining planets were clearly marked. For example, the nearest mining planet was 0.3 light-years away, with an iron ore content of 78%. If this planet could be fully mined, the amount of resources harvested would be absolutely massive. There were also two planets with life, one 0.4 light-years away, the other 0.8 light-years away. But both were currently in an apocalyptic state. The galaxy map even marked the real-time locations of the insectoid civilization's armies. What made Chen Meng feel uneasy was that their location was deep in the rear of the insectoid territory. Within a radius of 10,000 light-years, it was entirely filled with planets of extremely low civilization levels. Not a single planet exceeded level 1. Meanwhile, the civilization level of the aqua blue planet was only marked as level 0.2. He had been pondering a question. How could the train travel to places tens of thousands of light-years away? Even traveling at the speed of light, it would take 100,000 years. Now he had the answer: wormholes. Wormholes were practically the lifeblood of a planet. Once the coordinates of a wormhole near a planet were exposed, that planet would immediately face slaughter from enemies. Conversely, as long as the coordinates remained hidden, almost no one could reach that planet. It was too far. Relying on normal speeds, it was fundamentally impossible to reach the aqua blue planet. Just then, Xiao AI's voice rang out in the control room. Conductor, absorption complete. That fast. Chen Meng glanced at the control panel. It's only been 2 hours. I am a level 100 AI, after all. This amount of data doesn't take long. I've extracted some crucial information. In the universe, wormholes are roughly divided into 2 types. The first is natural wormholes. They form randomly, are unstable, can collapse at any time, and their destinations are unknown. The second is artificial wormholes created by civilizations. These are relatively stable and can be used long-term like an undersea tunnel, but they still require regular maintenance. Usually, they are created to connect 2 fixed coordinates. The coordinates of an artificial wormhole are top secret. Once leaked, the connected planet is at risk of invasion. Before its coordinates are exposed, a planet is almost absolutely safe, with no fear of being slaughtered by any civilization. The insectoid civilization has created many random wormholes, then thrown countless insect eggs into them to clear the map at extreme speeds. It's like playing StarCraft. Among them is a special unit called the Scout Bug, which contacts the brood mother at the insectoid base and sends the coordinates of the discovered planet. If there are resources nearby that the insectoids need, they will open a wormhole straight to that planet for their army to invade. The growth period of a scout bug larva is about 5 years. In other words, Chen Meng frowned. We have roughly 3 years left. Not necessarily. Xiao AI pushed open the control room door and walked in, her voice shifting from the speakers to her vocal synthesizer. According to the galaxy map, there are no targets of sufficient value in our vicinity. The insectoid army probably won't visit this place. But, Xiao AI continued, the mechanical civilization's methods rely on the planet's core energy. The core energy of the aqua blue planet will be depleted in about 3 years. Therefore, we still have to leave this planet within the next 3 years. We need to find 2 other habitable planets during that time. These 2 planets are larger in volume, so they should last longer. As for those mining planets, although they don't catch the insectoid's eyes, to us, they are a massive fortune. Mining a planet requires a lot of mining robots and a logistics system. It's an extremely arduous task. The problem is how to get there. Chen Meng fell silent for a moment, then reached out to zoom in on the galaxy map. The nearest mining planet is 0.3 light-years away. Use the prismatic-grade component, wormhole radar. Exactly. Xiao AI nodded seriously. The wormhole radar can detect natural wormholes in the universe, or decrypt the coordinates of wormholes created by other civilizations. The higher the level, the larger the detection range, and it can also analyze the coordinates of higher-level wormholes. Theoretically, Xiao AI said slowly, as long as the conductor has enough resources, the wormhole coordinates of the entire universe will no longer be a secret to you. You can go anywhere, provided the wormhole radar's level is high enough. Just hearing that sounds like burning money. Although it's quite a bit faster than we anticipated. It's clear that interstellar travel is about to begin, conductor. We're about to embark on a completely new journey. Does a randomly formed wormhole just happen to exist near that mining planet? Highly unlikely. We'll need to create this wormhole ourselves. Phew. Chen Meng stood up and stretched, then walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, hands in his pockets, standing still as he gazed at the distant starry sky. He stayed silent for a long time before chuckling softly. Doesn't sound like a simple project. It is indeed a bit troublesome. Xiao AI nodded in agreement, walking up beside Chen Meng, crossing her arms and looking into the distance. To create a wormhole, the train needs a prismatic component called the wormhole opener, but we currently don't possess this component. That component can only be obtained in the prismatic zone. There is only one prismatic zone, located on the equator. All trains that successfully enter the prismatic zone can bypass regional restrictions and travel freely to any zone. When that time comes, Chen Meng smiled slightly and continued, Neon City will have a massive influx of customers, the train will gain more residents, and the production speed of Dreamstones will skyrocket. Exactly, Xiao AI nodded in agreement. Furthermore, we can issue free entry passes to Neon City on those 2 apocalyptic planets, as well as other planets. There's one thing. Go ahead, conductor. Those 2 planets aren't too far from the aqua blue planet. Why didn't the aqua blue planet discover the existence of these 2 life-bearing planets before the apocalypse? I'm not sure about that. Xiao AI paused for a moment before returning to the topic of wormholes. There are 2 ways to enter a wormhole channel. The first is the conventional way, traveling from one end to the other. This method consumes very few resources. The second is knowing the wormhole coordinates in advance, then forcibly opening a transit channel to those coordinates. This method consumes far more resources. There are also many complex details to note. For example, some wormholes are 2-way, but others are strictly 1-way. You can go, but you can't come back, and so on. Let's leave that for later. Chen Meng interrupted Xiao AI. After a long silence, he spoke slowly. Tomorrow, we'll go to Neon City for the victory banquet. After that, we'll finish mining all 50 level 5 or veins, enter the red zone, and complete our entry into the prismatic zone. Wait until we've completely unified the aqua blue planet before preparing to head to that mining planet. So, Xiao AI shrugged and smiled. The aqua blue planet is the real beginner's village. I thought the Iron Ridge Wasteland was the beginner's village. Every stage has a different beginner's village. Don't do that shrugging motion anymore. Why, conductor? There's a problem with the programming for that action. It looks a bit shifty. I'll go tweak it later. To think even an AI gets criticized for bad acting. In the quiet of the late night, the residents were still excitedly chatting. Xiao AI, meanwhile, headed to the Mecha Research Center to reorganize her database. From a certain perspective, the database left behind by that AI was the most valuable reward, containing a colossal amount of information. Also, Chen Meng stared silently at the control panel screen. Xiao AI had just told him that there was a highly prominent red-flagged piece of information in the database. All information related to the mechanical civilization was based on the data in this database. Any information that contradicted this data was considered an error. This database had never been modified. The reward this time was too massive, so massive that it far exceeded the total value of all the encounter maps he had ever experienced, especially the 50 or vein refresh tickets. He had checked, they were all level 5 or veins. The yield of a single level 5 iron or vein was 100 million units. 10 veins meant 1 billion units of iron ore. Not only did it cover all the expenses this time, but the surplus was enough to boost the overall strength of the train by another level. He had to lead all of humanity on the aqua blue planet away from here, while making contact with as many civilizations as possible. Issue more Neon City entry passes, enrich the merchandise, and trade with a large number of civilizations in exchange for resources. He wanted human civilization to truly stand firm in this universe. He had an advantage that no one else had. Even Princess Toachuo of the mechanical civilization only upgraded her AI to level 200. Going any higher was too costly to bear. But as long as he wanted to, he could absolutely upgrade his AI to level 999. There was only one condition: resources. The more, the better. Creating a wormhole was an extremely complex task. Cosmic space is constantly fluctuating. Only certain special areas are stable enough. Only in those places can a sustainable transit wormhole be created. Without knowing the exact coordinates of these stable areas, a newly created wormhole would collapse instantly, wasting a massive amount of resources. Therefore, to create a transit wormhole, two conditions must be met. First, the ability to create a wormhole and sufficient resources. Second, ensuring that the spatial areas at both the starting point and the destination are stable, while knowing the specific coordinates. Chen Meng looked up at the starry sky, trying to find which star was the mining planet he was about to set foot on. He couldn't find it. There were too many stars in the sky. The universe was truly too vast. Chen Meng turned to look at little Xiao Lu beside him, picked him up, gently rubbed his pink nose, and said softly, "Following me. Consider yourself blessed. With so many stars out there, you can eat to your heart's content." There were records of Xiao Lu in the data. An S-rank void behemoth, a satellite beast, feeding on mining planets. Once mature, it could reach level 180. Its normal form remained the same as its infant stage. But when entering its devouring or combat state, its size could expand to 0.01 light-years. That might not sound intuitive enough. To put it another way, a distance of 0.01 light-years could fit 3 million aqua blue planets lined up side by side. That probably made it much easier to picture. With such a terrifying devouring form, swallowing a small mining planet was no different from eating a chocolate candy, crispy and crunchy. In that AI's database, the strongest behemoth chariot in the history of the mechanical civilization belonged to their final leader. The void behemoth that person raised was only B rank, and even at maturity, it only reached level 80. Yet it had rampaged across the battlefield, slaughtering the armies of the insectoid civilization. As for an A-rank infant void behemoth, the history of the mechanical civilization had never recorded one. It was said that to obtain that B-rank infant beast, the mechanical civilization had paid an astronomical price. And yet he had just picked up an S-rank infant void behemoth. This infant was originally on Master Kuen's train. So what exactly was Master Kuen's identity? Could he be a reincarnator? Otherwise, it was truly hard to imagine why an S-rank infant void behemoth, something even the mechanical civilization didn't have, would appear on Master Kuen's train. But regardless, it was his now. Grow up fast. Chen Meng gently patted Xiao Lu's head, smiling. Work hard so you can pull the train later. We'll try imitating the 9 dragons pulling the coffin scene. That would definitely look epic. He had once said that Xiao Lu's value was probably higher than the aqua blue planet. Thinking back on it now, vision truly dictates perception. Not just higher than the aqua blue planet. If seriously appraised, it was probably higher than the entire mechanical civilization. After all, the strongest train of the mechanical civilization only reached level 91, while Xiao Lu would be level 180 just by reaching adulthood. Suppressing both the mechanical civilization and the insectoid civilization at the same time wouldn't be an issue. A 1v2 fight. Even if those two civilizations went all out, they probably couldn't even break Xiao Lu's defense. Where exactly did this little guy come from? Did he really just fall from the sky? Would some parent show up seeking revenge later on? If two mature S-rank satellite beasts, level 180, showed up at the planet train to cause trouble at the same time. Honestly, he had no idea how this train was supposed to survive. This universe had way too many dangerous elements. Fortunately, the insectoid civilization's armies were all fighting on the front lines, so he could quietly develop in the rear. Wait until he reached his peak before coming out of hiding, gifting the insectoid civilization a textbook backstab. A night passed. That night, all the residents mined in the spatial portal. Chen Meng had used up one level 5 iron or vein refresh ticket and one level 5 copper or vein refresh ticket. After all, the victory banquet the next day was being held in Neon City. The planet train was practically out of ammo and food, with not a single bit of iron or copper or left in storage. When everyone went to the banquet, if Xiao AI encountered danger and had no defensive resources, it would be a real hassle. Though a bit tired, everyone's spirits were incredibly high, especially the kids. They were originally educated inside the planet train and logically shouldn't have participated in the battle. But the situation was so chaotic yesterday that no one noticed, so the kids also rushed into the train cars, dragging zombie corpses and throwing them into the portal. Even though it was just cleanup duty with almost zero risk, the biggest risks having been shouldered by the planet train and the guards. This was the first time the kids had come into close contact with zombies, and high-level ones up to level 19 at that. As a result, none of them wanted to sleep that night. They grabbed pickaxes and ran off to mine, shouting about working together as brothers. I've decided. A chubby boy panted, grinning widely. I want to be a guard in the future. I want to kill zombies. I'm not going to be a manager anymore. You? A girl with a ponytail next to him slammed her pickaxe into the ground, pouting. With a belly that fat, you probably couldn't even squeeze into a mecha cockpit. I really don't get it. It's the apocalypse. We've been starving for so long. How did you still manage to grow that belly? My belly isn't from eating. The chubby boy scratched his head, muttering. I was really sick before the apocalypse. I got like this after taking injections. What sickness? My parents didn't say. They just said it was fine and told me not to worry. Right then, a sharp-looking boy chimed in, his eyes shining. Hey, I just dreamed that I made a huge contribution in the future, and Master Mang asked me if I wanted 1,000,000,000,000 planet tickets or immortality. Which one do you guys think I should choose? Choose the 1,000,000,000,000 planet tickets. The girl tilted her head, her eyes dreamy. That's 1,000,000,000,000. I'd hand it all over to Master Mang. Wouldn't that be another huge contribution? Then I could choose another 1,000,000,000,000, hand it over again, make another contribution, and just keep repeating it. Hearing that, it really was a get-rich-quick mindset from a young age. If you keep looping like that, Miss Chiu walked over, gently patting the girl's head, saying with slight displeasure, the planet train will suffer terrifying inflation. Hurry up and go to sleep. You still have classes in 3 days. The chubby boy immediately drooped his ears, looking wronged. Miss Chiu, today is the victory banquet. We want to go too. What are you going there for? You didn't make any contributions. Yes, we did. We pushed a zombie into the teleportation portal. Does that even count as a contribution? Even if it doesn't count, we still want to go watch the fun. Can we skip class just for today? In the very next moment, a voice echoed in the ears of all the residents. The victory banquet is about to begin. All residents, please follow instructions. Form groups of 10 to receive your free Neon City entry passes. Proceed to the venue and take your seats according to your serial numbers. Maintain order. The victory banquet is about to begin. All resi. 3 consecutive broadcasts made all the residents mining in the portal instantly cheer in excitement. Even though they had been mining all night, no one felt the slightest bit tired. In the central square of Neon City, a high stage had been temporarily erected overnight. Chairs were neatly arranged below, with resident serial numbers marked on the ground. The smaller the number, the closer the seat was to the front. Chen Meng stood before the floor-to-ceiling window of Sun City, leaning on his cane, looking down at the residents taking their seats below. His expression was calm, not saying a word. The scale of this victory banquet isn't small. Looks like the planet train must have had a massive harvest this time. Sister Chi, wearing a cheongsam and a shawl, swayed her hips seductively as she walked over, holding a glass of red wine. She followed Qin Mang's gaze and chuckled softly. "Am I right, Master Mang?" Qin Mang turned to look at Sister Qi, paused for a moment, and said, "Last time I asked you if you knew whether the mechanical civilization had been completely wiped out, you said you didn't know. Now I can give you the answer. They've been completely exterminated. It's just that exactly how long ago they were wiped out is temporarily unclear. The mechanical civilization's calendar is very strange. There are basically no survivors left in the mechanical civilization. The wormhole coordinates of all their planets after their defeat have been fully grasped by the enemy. Maybe some high-ranking leaders who knew beforehand managed to flee, but they're just dragging out their miserable lives for a few more days, suffering a little longer. The original master of this city, unsurprisingly, died a very long time ago. Wiped out." Sister Qi froze slightly, a look of bewilderment flashing in her eyes. She pursed her lips for a long time before whispering, "Then it must have been wiped out thousands of years ago. Before you arrived, this city hadn't been activated for a very long time. The victory banquet is starting." Qin Mang looked toward the host on the stage. It was the guy who used to sing anime songs, whom he later assigned to sing every day to boost the civilization order progress. To think he had now unlocked hosting skills as well. Ever since the mining robots appeared, Lao Zhu had initiated a massive survey of all the residents on the train. Whether their skills were useful or seemingly useless, everything was thoroughly documented. Who knows, they might come in handy later. Sooner or later, the residents would withdraw from the mining industry, replaced by robots. When that time came, they would need to rely on everyone's individual skills to assign suitable jobs. After speaking, Qin Mang said no more, simply turning and walking out. Biao was standing guard at the door, looking stern. Lao Zhu, the man in charge of all the order for this victory banquet, occasionally glanced at the chair in the very first row below the stage. The serial number on the ground was 002. On the train, aside from Master Mang, his number was the closest. Master Mang's serial number was 001. Originally, he had debated for a long time whether to set Master Mang's number as 000 or 001. In the end, Uncle Lee convinced him. Uncle Lee said 4 zeros sounded unlucky, like everything was empty, while 001 was much better. 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all things. It was precisely because of Master Mang that the planet train existed today. Honestly, Lao Zhu always thought his own flattery skills were pretty good. But after interacting with Uncle Lee a few times, he realized this guy was no slouch either. His ideas were novel, and it wasn't the kind of forced, awkward flattery. Instead, he could build a logical framework that made the listener feel it made perfect sense. Kissing ass was inherently a technical job. Being too blatant only caused disgust, but doing it to the point where it felt reasonable and self-satisfying. That was the peak of flattery. While directing the people next to him to quickly fill in the gaps, Lao Zhu couldn't help but steal a few more glances at his own chair. That serial number looked so comfortable, so satisfying. The planet train would likely officially begin its interstellar journey in just 3 to 5 years. After all, when he saw the star map in the control room earlier, he was so dizzy he could barely stand. One could imagine that in the future, the planet train's population would absolutely explode. And the first 6,000 residents following this train were the core foundation. Among them, the lower the serial number, the higher their status and treatment would be later on. As for his 002, that truly was a position above all others. In many situations, it was even more useful than the title of conductor. This was his seniority, displayed openly and honorably. When Qin Mang first started his enterprise, Lao Zhu had followed by his side as his second-in-command. Right at that moment, Lao Zhu's eyes lit up. He looked toward Qin Mang, who was being escorted by Biao from a distance, and hurried over to welcome him. "Master Mang, we're just waiting for you to go up and give your speech." "Yeah." Qin Mang nodded slightly, leaning on his cane as he walked up the high stage alone, his gaze sweeping over the expectant residents. After a moment of silence, he smiled and spoke. "A great victory. This is the planet train's first victory banquet, but it absolutely won't be the last. I won't spout pleasantries. I'll get straight to the point. In this encounter map, everyone contributed. Among you is resident number 3778. You might not have ever noticed his serial number, but during last night's encounter, relying solely on his own strength, he pushed 12 zombies into the freezer, ranking first among all residents. Now, let's invite him on stage. Below the stage, Lao Zhu lowered his head and quickly glanced at the notebook in his hand. The commendation list for this victory banquet had been drafted long ago. He shot a look at the young man standing behind him, his voice low but urgent. Remember, answer exactly as I told you. Absolutely do not spout nonsense, you hear me? Get up there. Stand up straight. Last night, when reporting the victory banquet schedule to Chen Mang's idea was to pick an exemplary resident to give a speech. After searching high and low, only this young man barely met the criteria. 17 or 18 years old, exactly the age where one is hot-blooded and prone to misspeaking. Lao Zhu was genuinely terrified he'd blurt out some unnecessary, shocking statement to the whole crowd. So he had repeatedly instructed him, no matter what Chen Mang asked, just stick to those universal scripted answers, and he'd be fine. He understood why Chen Mang deliberately chose an ordinary resident, and even let this young man go on stage first. It meant that the residents were also very important. It was just a pity that if resident number 1999, the guy writing the novel, had completed his task at the last moment, he would have been the most suitable candidate. But as it stood, it just wasn't meant to be. Young man, Chen Mang smiled, looking at the guy walking onto the stage. Last night, among all the residents, you pushed the most zombies into the portal. 12 in total. You've got quite the strength. Looks like the rations on the planet train aren't bad, huh? Not just not bad. The young man paused slightly, his voice stuttering from nervousness. On my previous train, I never had enough to eat. I almost starved to death. I had no strength left in my body. Since coming to the planet train, I finally know what it means to be full. The planet train is like a savior in the apocalypse, pulling me out of misery. Seeing his awkward demeanor, the residents below the stage burst into laughter, and the atmosphere instantly lightened. At that moment, Xiao Feng walked onto the stage holding a tray with both hands. On the tray sat a medal. This medal was hastily crafted by Chen Mang last night, using mechanical heart crystals. It was entirely black, not as flashy as gold, but it carried a sense of weight and steadiness. The kind you could tell at a glance wasn't some cheap knockoff. Chen Mang picked up the medal, stepped forward, and personally pinned it to the young man's chest. He threw an arm around his shoulder, looked down at the crowd, and smiled. This is the first medal of the ordinary awarded by the planet train. I designed, crafted, and named this medal myself. It is exclusively for the residents. The name ordinary represents one thing. No matter how ordinary you are, there will come a day when you shine. The planet train is a platform. On this platform, everyone can realize their value and find a purpose to live in the apocalypse. And my goal is to make this platform even bigger. Much, much bigger. Every medal represents the highest honor. Everyone who receives a medal, all their contributions to the planet train will be permanently recorded in the train's developmental history for future generations to remember. Do you want any additional rewards? No need. The young man shook his head decisively. The words he had practiced flowed out smoothly. Being able to contribute my strength to the planet train is already my honor. If it weren't for Master Mang, I probably would have died in the apocalypse long ago. How would I even have the chance to stand here? Below the stage, quite a few residents stared at the medal on the young man's chest with envious eyes. Calling it a medal was a bit modest. No matter how you looked at it, this thing was like a get-out-of-jail-free card. In the future, as long as he didn't commit treason, even if he slacked off a bit while mining, probably no one would dare say a word. Some were jealous, knowing full well that this was probably the easiest time to get the medal of the ordinary, yet it went to some nobody. But many also silently took it to heart. Chen Mang saw the contributions of every resident. Sooner or later, their turn would come. Standing below the stage, Lao Zhu nodded in satisfaction. This young man's performance wasn't bad. Looked like he could be put to more use in the future. A reward is still necessary, Chen Mang chuckled. He paused for a beat, then asked, do you have any lingering illnesses or ailments bothering you? Yes. The young man hesitated, turning his head to look at Lao Zhu below the stage. This part wasn't in the script, But seeing the encouraging look in the other man's eyes, he answered honestly, I have rhinitis. Whenever I eat hot food, my nose runs and I sneeze nonstop. I tried treating it many times before the apocalypse, but it never went away. Easy fix, Chen Meng smiled. Later, go find Lao Zhu and get a full recovery in the medical cabin. You won't have this problem anymore. No, no need. The young man hurriedly waved his hands. I appreciate your kindness, Master Meng, but the bread I eat every day is cold. I haven't eaten hot food in a long time, so my rhinitis hasn't flared up either. I really don't need it, Master Meng. The smile on Chen Meng's face slowly froze. The previously lively atmosphere below the stage suddenly grew so quiet you could hear a pin drop. It's over. It's totally over. Standing below the stage, Lao Zhu pressed his index finger hard against his philtrum, his vision going dark. Only one thought echoed in his mind. Wake up. This has to be a nightmare. Saying that right at this moment was no different from pointing right at Master Meng's face and saying the planet train's rations were garbage, not even offering a hot meal. In the apocalypse, getting a full meal every day was already a luxury, yet he was complaining about cold food. It would be one thing to say it in private, but in front of all the residents like this. This kid was literally trying to ruin his own career right on stage. I didn't mean it like that. The young man also realized he had misspoken, his voice trembling as if he were about to cry. Master Meng, I meant that not eating hot food is actually good. It perfectly suits my rhinitis. I don't like eating hot food anyway. No, that's not right. Chen Meng gently patted the young man's shoulder, cutting him off. He then looked toward the residents below the stage and smiled. Is that so? From today onward, the daily rations for all residents will include a choice between bread and steamed buns. He then turned to Lao Zhu. Get the entire boiler room running. Heat up the food for everyone. You dropped the ball on this one, Lao Zhu. Everyone has put in a lot of effort for the train. They should at least get a bite of hot food every day. Yes, yes, yes. Lao Zhu nodded repeatedly. He managed to keep his composure on the outside, but inside, he was dead numb. Previously, each resident only needed 3 units of iron ore a day for bread. Now, switching to hot meat buns would directly triple the consumption. Even though the planet train could afford it, a decision proactively made by Master Meng versus a decision forced upon him by a resident on stage were two completely different things. Lao Zhu wiped the sweat from his forehead. Seeing the residents below still looking dazed, he quickly took a deep breath, forced a professional smile, and led the applause. Thank you, Master Meng. With someone taking the lead, the residents instantly grew excited. Their rations were getting an upgrade. To them, this was a tangible improvement in their quality of life. Thank you, Master Meng. Long live Master Meng. Master Meng is mighty. The chaotic but urgent cheers rolled over like a wave. All right, Chen Meng patted the young man's shoulder, smiling. Now you can go get your rhinitis cured. Head on down. The next person coming on stage is Biao. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with him. During last night's encounter map, he completed 11 missions. He completed the most out of anyone. If it weren't for Biao, the planet train very likely would have had to retreat in defeat. Master Meng, Biao, wearing a custom high-tier guard uniform, stepped onto the stage with a ramrod-straight posture and a solemn expression. Not a bad performance. Chen Meng pinned the medal to Biao's chest, lightly brushed his collar, and smiled. Truly not bad. You really surprised me this time. During this period, the person who has improved the fastest on the train is you. There will come a day when you can truly shoulder things on your own. Biao's eyes turned red. He looked at Chen Meng and growled, I swear my life to Master Meng for the rest of my days. This was the first time Chen Meng had officially praised him in front of so many people. It was also the first time Biao felt that all his hard work had finally been seen. All right, next up, Xiao AI. Xiao AI had dressed up especially neatly today, stepping onto the stage with eyes full of anticipation. She stood in front of Chen Meng, blinking, waiting patiently. Not a bad performance. During last night's encounter map, you played a huge role. Calling it the top contribution wouldn't be an exaggeration. Keep up the good work. Chen Meng maintained a calm expression as he looked at Xiao AI. He obviously knew what she was waiting for, but sorry. He could never say those overly sentimental words in his entire life, let alone in front of so many people. The award ceremony concluded in a lively atmosphere. Right after, a girl group took the stage, dancing to an upbeat melody, while plates of food were continuously brought out in the background. The banquet officially began. A victory banquet without a feast would be a crime against the stomach. Lao Zhu, with an ugly expression, turned to his assistant behind him. Take him to the medical cabin. Cure that damn rhinitis once and for all. And then, the assistant probed, his hand making a subtle slicing motion across his throat. Follow the standard procedure. Don't do anything I didn't tell you to do. Understood. Conductor Zhu. At that moment, the young man walked over trembling, dropping to his knees with a thud in front of Lao Zhu. His face was pale, his voice shaking. Don't kill me, please don't kill me. I've been clumsy since I was a kid. Can you just give me one more chance? Get up. Lao Zhu glanced at a few residents looking their way. Despite his livid face, he forced a stiff smile. He helped the young man up and laughed loudly. All right. I know you're excited about getting commended. Stand up first. Come to the back with me. Let's talk. What are you doing? Chen Mang sat at a gambling table in Sun City, glancing at Biao and Lao Zhu who had come to report, his tone displeased. I just finished handing out medals. And what? You're planning to kill someone? Master Mang, you mean? Lao Zhu probed tentatively. Let him live a few more days. Then have the guards intentionally release a monster some night and use it to kill him? No need. Don't get the wrong idea. Chen Mang shook his head, tossing his hand of cards onto the table, his voice indifferent. It's a small matter. The residents' rations were about to be upgraded recently anyway. We're not short on that bit of iron ore. Letting the residents eat a little better every day isn't a problem. Young people occasionally saying the wrong thing is very normal. You have to give them a chance. Don't just resort to killing at the drop of a hat. When you make mistakes normally, do I kill you? I'll still leave the train's internal affairs to you. The train is developing fast. Just handle these minor issues as you see fit. Yes, understood, Lao Zhu replied, then backed away. After leaving Sun City, Biao hesitated, leaning close to Lao Zhu's ear and asking quietly, when Master Mang said, handle as you see fit. How exactly should we handle it? Exactly as he said, handle it as you see fit. What does handle as you see fit mean? It means handle it as you see fit. Lao Zhu spat lightly, walking away in frustration. It sounded vague, but anyone who had been around long enough understood. The starry sky was out, and it was late. The victory banquet had also come to an end. After the banquet, the residents went to sleep one after another. After all, they had been busy all night the day before. The remaining 2,000 mining robots worked all day in the train's portal, finishing 2 level 5 ore veins by the afternoon. The balance of iron and copper ore once again returned to the 100 million unit mark. Chen Mang sat in his chair, looking at the computer screen. A few cans of Coca-Cola were scattered on the desk. He hadn't slept in a long time, and his head was a bit groggy. The grade above red was gold, and only after that came prismatic. This was already the highest grade component he had ever encountered, and the crafting cost was so absurd it made his wallet hurt just hearing it. Just crafting it required 1 million units of iron ore, enough to upgrade 2 white grade components to level 100. Infinite upgrades were essentially just continuously strengthening a component, increasing its stats and effects, but it was very hard to create a qualitative change. For example, even if the search and destroy radar was upgraded to level 1000, it probably still wouldn't be able to detect wormholes. The wormhole radar was currently the highest grade component on the train, belonging to a broken tier. Chen Mang looked at his iron ore balance, pondered for a long time, and decided to spend 45 million units of iron ore to upgrade it straight to level 10. At level 1, the wormhole radar could only detect wormholes within a 1 light-year radius, and only level 1 wormholes. Wormholes also had levels. The higher the level, the more stable they were, and the harder they were to detect. When upgraded to level 10, the detection range reached 10 light-years. The surrounding mining planets and habitable planets were all within the scanning range, and it could detect wormholes up to level 10. After the upgrade, the wormhole radar gained 2 super effects. The level 5 super effect halved energy consumption, and the level 10 super effect allowed it to evaluate the stability of a wormhole. Unlike the search and destroy radar, the wormhole radar wasn't always on. It was only activated when needed, because every activation consumed a massive amount of energy. The wider the scanning range, the more terrifying the consumption. Currently, with a 10 light-year range, each scan required 2 level 5 energy stones, equivalent to 10 million units of iron ore. This price was not cheap at all. Chen Meng didn't plan on using the wormhole radar just yet. Even if he detected a wormhole, he couldn't travel through it right now anyway. His immediate goal was still to enter the prismatic zone. But Chen Meng still wanted to take a sneak peek. After spending 10 million units of iron ore to craft 2 level 5 energy stones, and feeding them into the wormhole radar, along with the grinding sound of the energy stones, waves of purple light shot out from the control panel, rippling outward toward the starry sky. Just a few hundred meters out, the purple light became almost invisible to the naked eye. Chen Meng stared blankly at the scene before him. Was he supposed to use these purple light beams for detection? Wouldn't a round trip take 20 years? This kind of tech sounded a bit archaic. But in the very next moment, beep, beep, beep. On the star map on the control panel, a purple dot of light slowly appeared. Then, further away, more purple dots popped up one after another. Not all at once, but appearing one by one. Within a 10 light-year radius, a total of 3 purple dots were displayed on the map. In other words, there were 3 wormholes. These 3 wormholes were all naturally formed. The nearest wormhole was 0.3 light-years away from Chen Meng, conveniently located right next to that mining planet with 78% iron ore content. Naturally formed wormhole. One-way wormhole. Current location is the terminus. Formed 267 days ago. Internal stability, 23%. Coordinates of the other end, unknown. A timeline slowly appeared on the screen. Natural wormholes could dissipate right after appearing, or they could exist for 10 billion years. No one knew exactly when a natural wormhole would vanish. The only certainty was that once it dissipated, everything inside would absolutely turn to nothingness, with almost zero chance of survival. In the cosmic sea of stars, unless pushed to a dead end, no one would willingly enter a natural wormhole. Even if they were lucky enough that it didn't dissipate, no one knew where it would lead. An entirely unknown place. And even if the other side was habitable, there was basically no chance of returning. The other 2 wormholes were artificial, located 0.4 light-years and 0.8 light-years away respectively, conveniently situated on the 2 planets with life. Artificial wormhole. Contains the mark of the insectoid civilization. Random one-time, one-way wormhole. Current location is the terminus. Formed 212 days ago. Internal stability, 47%. Coordinates of the other end, unknown. Artificial wormhole. Contains the mark of the insectoid civilization. Random one-time, one-way wormhole. Current location is the terminus. Formed 212 days ago. Internal stability, 51%. Coordinates of the other end, unknown. Clearly, these 2 wormholes were random one-way wormholes created by the insectoid civilization. Insect eggs would fall onto the planets through the wormholes, bringing about the apocalypse. Logically speaking, a similar wormhole must have existed near the Aqua Blue planet. But the Aqua Blue planet's apocalypse had lasted for more than 212 days, so it was highly likely that the Aqua Blue planet had faced the apocalypse earlier. Then, at a certain point, the wormhole automatically dissipated. The duration of this type of one-time wormhole was roughly about 300 days. Ranked by resource consumption from highest to lowest, they were stable two-way wormhole, one-time two-way wormhole, stable one-way wormhole, one-time one-way wormhole, random stable one-way wormhole, and finally, random one-time one-way wormhole. Among them, the random one-time one-way wormhole was the cheapest, and it was also the insectoid civilization's unique method for clearing the map. After all, not every civilization had members they could treat as expendable consumables, throwing them into wormholes without caring if they lived or died. Moreover, it was unclear what technology the insectoid civilization possessed, but their cost of creating wormholes was clearly vastly lower than that of other civilizations. According to the mechanical civilization, the leader of the insectoid civilization, the brood mother, was very likely a high-tier void behemoth. The exact tier was unknown because it had never appeared on the battlefield. It was highly likely to be A rank or even S rank. Generally speaking, the stability of an artificial wormhole had to be at least above 90%. The higher the stability, the safer the wormhole channel, and the less likely it was to encounter dangers like particle storms. The stability of the wormholes created by the insectoid civilization was only about 50%. This was absolutely not due to a lack of capability, but to save resources. Using the cheapest resources to mass-produce wormholes and larvae, scattering them like locusts. Once they discovered an area with high resources, they would immediately establish a stable two-way wormhole, kicking off a massive invasion. In other words, the apocalypse on the Aqua Blue planet was a completely unprovoked disaster. It didn't even qualify as a formal declaration of war by the insectoid civilization. Billions of people died, but in the entire universe, almost no one knew. It was like an ant being crushed underfoot. No one would even look back. Chen Meng stared silently at the 3 wormholes on the star map. The coordinates were recorded. Although he couldn't use them right now, it was better to have them saved. The entire universe in his eyes right now looked like a block of earth riddled with drill holes, pierced through by countless trains acting as drill bits, creating transit channels one after another. The only difference was that these weren't 3-dimensional channels, but 4-dimensional ones. It looked peaceful on the surface, but in reality, God knows how many wormholes existed in the universe. Every single minute and second, a massive number of wormholes were born, while countless others dissipated. Chen Meng's target was that mining planet 0.3 light-years away. Once he was ready, possessing the means to create wormholes and the ability to survive in the cosmic sea, he would definitely go to that mining planet. Most importantly, no one knew what kind of hellish things might crawl out of those 3 wormholes one day. What if a scout bug matured on that planet, sent the coordinates back, established a stable two-way wormhole, and the insectoid army swarmed in? He had to hurry. Chen Meng lit a cigarette, his eyes glued to the information on the control panel. Even though Xiao AI's assessment suggested the resources here were completely unworthy of the insectoid civilization's attention, and their army was unlikely to come here, he couldn't pin all his hopes on that. What if they did? If they really came, what was he supposed to do? Just stand there and wait to die? He had to quickly finish mining these veins, upgrade the train another round, enter the red zone, and then make a beeline for the prismatic zone. Right at that moment, Chen Meng looked at the star map, which suddenly underwent a change and froze slightly. An anomalous point of light suddenly appeared on the map. At a distance of 7,892 light-years, a civilization had just completed its founding. Heaven-slaying civilization. Level 1.0 civilization. The civilization's name was certainly badass, but, buddy, you're surrounded by territory occupied by the insectoid civilization. You're screwed. Daring to start a faction here, probably no one would even dare to follow them. The encounter map Dead Tree Revives was a legacy left behind by the mechanical civilization's princess, Toachuo. It wasn't just set up exclusively on the Aqua Blue planet, but rather a massive amount of resources had been scattered outward. For all planets invaded by insect eggs, the nearest shuttles would quickly approach and leave behind this encounter map. It was just that the Aqua Blue planet was relatively special because the level 200 AI on Princess Toachuo's train had chosen to stay here. In this legacy, the most important reward was actually the special item, the galaxy map. This was an exclusive technology of the mechanical civilization, and it could only be used when installed on a train. Every civilization had its own exclusive methods. For example, the insectoid civilization's exclusive method was their extreme troop spawning capability, using cheap resources to mass-produce insect swarms. The galaxy map updated in real time, allowing observation of actual changes in star systems within a 10,000 light-year radius. It also displayed civilizations below level 1. Normally, the insectoid civilization's reconnaissance methods couldn't actively detect civilizations below level 1. Therefore, even deep within the insectoid core territory, as long as a civilization's level was below 1, even if it was only a few dozen light-years away from the insectoid home planet, it was considered temporarily safe. What was going on here? Chen Meng stared intently at the newly upgraded level 1 civilization on the galaxy map, the heaven-slaying civilization, silently counting down in his head. In his mind, This civilization was already on the brink of extinction. But, after patiently waiting for a full 10 minutes, the heaven-slaying civilization's planet was still glowing peacefully on the map, without any fluctuations whatsoever. This insectoid civilization doesn't seem all that impressive after all. Chen Meng raised an eyebrow slightly. They've already barged right into your territory, yet 10 minutes have passed, and they still haven't been wiped out. I thought they'd be erased the moment they showed their face. It's not as simple as you think, Xiao AI's voice rang out in the train. Even if they know which planet the civilization upgraded on, approaching that planet is very difficult. First, they have to determine the stability of the space surrounding the planet. Only in stable spatial areas can wormholes be created. If they force the creation of a wormhole without knowing the coordinates, the wormhole will collapse instantly, wasting a massive amount of resources. This is a process that is both time-consuming and extremely resource-intensive. Furthermore, this is just a newly upgraded Level 1 civilization, posing almost zero threat to the insectoid civilization. Logically speaking, in the very next moment, on the galaxy radar screen, at a location several thousand light-years away, a purple dot of light suddenly appeared. That was the sign of a wormhole forming. It was just that this dot of light flashed and quickly vanished. What's going on? Chen Meng frowned, looking at the wormhole radar. He could only detect wormholes within a 10 light-year radius, and he hadn't even turned on the detection mode just now. Yet a wormhole several thousand light-years away had appeared directly on the galaxy map. But he didn't have time to think deeply about it. This was only the beginning. Immediately after, countless dense purple dots of light began appearing all over the galaxy map, completely devoid of any pattern, as if they were being scattered randomly. Thousands, then nearly 10,000 dots of light covered the entire map in the blink of an eye. The small screen could no longer display them clearly. Chen Meng immediately switched the galaxy map to the large screen on the side of the train car. Every single one of those purple dots was a random wormhole. Thousands, nearly 10,000, then tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands. In just a few short minutes, tens of thousands of wormholes appeared one after another on the galaxy map. Most of the purple dots vanished as soon as they flashed. A small number lasted for a few minutes before disappearing, but new dots kept appearing constantly. Finally, all the purple dots gradually faded away, leaving only one significantly darker purple dot, and that dot was located very close to the heaven-slaying civilization's planet. Chen Meng didn't know exactly what had happened. The galaxy map couldn't display the detailed process. He only knew one thing. 3 seconds later, the name Heaven-Slaying Civilization was no longer on the galaxy map. A rookie civilization annihilated. Chen Meng stood frozen in place, his face devoid of expression. A long time later, he finally spoke softly. You just said, logically speaking, the insectoid civilization would ignore them. Well, Xiao AI's voice echoed in the train, carrying a hint of embarrassment. Logically speaking, they indeed should have ignored them. A level 1 civilization with only one home planet is absolutely not worth expending such a massive amount of strategic resources. Doing that is no different from using a missile to shoot a mosquito. It's extremely wasteful. Unless, the insectoid civilization's territorial awareness is so strong that they cannot tolerate any other civilization existing within their domain. In other words, my initial deduction might also be wrong. Which deduction? You said the insectoid civilization is highly unlikely to come to the aqua blue planets area. Logically speaking, that is indeed. All right, that's enough. Chen Meng rubbed his temples, letting out a long breath. Stop with the logically speaking. It's giving me a headache. A profound sense of powerlessness welled up in his heart. If that heaven-slaying civilization had held out for a few days and nights, he would have felt that at least there was a chance. But the result? Wiped out instantly. They were a level 1 civilization, an entity qualified to step onto the chessboard and face off against other civilizations. Yet they were annihilated by the insectoid civilization in the blink of an eye. 3 seconds. It definitely wasn't some slow army landing. They probably just took a direct hit from a main dreadnought cannon and melted instantly. Finally, Chen Meng understood the true meaning of stepping onto the chessboard that the civilization order had mentioned. And he also understood the consequences of stepping onto the chessboard too early. A long time later, he finally snapped out of it, but still muttered in a slight daze, "This insectoid civilization is completely unreasonable. They can actually just designate the creation of random wormholes over a massive area. They don't even need to probe for coordinates. They just brute force it. As soon as they get a hit, they immediately launch a full-scale assault. Are wormholes really that cheap?" The mechanical civilization said the insectoid civilization's strongest methods were troop spawning and cheap wormhole creation. But isn't this absurdly cheap? No wonder the mechanical civilization couldn't beat them. With this kind of wormhole spamming, what civilization could withstand it? Come to think of it, the mechanical civilization holding out for 200 years was already pretty damn impressive. It actually makes sense. Conductor, Xiao AI's voice sounded weakly. After all, wormholes inherently bear the name of the insectoid civilization. It's not surprising they have such methods. How the hell does that make sense? However, Conductor, Xiao AI continued, "I've figured out why our wormhole radar could receive information about the birth of wormholes thousands of light years away. It's because the insectoid civilization actively leaked the wormhole coordinates, simultaneously broadcasting this information to all civilizations in the vicinity." Intimidation. Exactly. It's intimidation. To let all civilizations see clearly what fate awaits them if they upgrade to a level 1 civilization in this area. They will be annihilated immediately at all costs to prevent any fires in their backyard. It seems the insectoid civilization must know there are many civilizations in this area. Of course they know, but as long as they don't upgrade to level 1, they aren't considered to have stepped onto the chessboard. There are too many of these tiny civilizations. The insectoid civilization can't possibly clean them up one by one. So if we didn't have the wormhole radar, wouldn't they just be winking at a blind man? If a civilization can't even receive the information, then they won't be upgrading to level 1 anytime soon. So naturally, there's no need to worry. Civilization upgrade. Chen Mang leaned back in his chair, lit a cigarette, and stared thoughtfully at the galaxy map. He didn't know exactly what benefits a civilization upgrade brought, but could he just never upgrade? Just upgrading the train would be enough, right? No matter how he looked at it, upgrading the civilization seemed like an extremely dangerous path. Once you upgrade, you instantly become enemies with the whole world. On the galaxy map, the display range was only 10,000 light-years. In the left third of the area, countless dark red planets formed a dense cluster of star systems. That was all territory belonging to the insectoid civilization, already stamped with their civilization mark. The heaven-slaying civilization from just now had upgraded right inside this area, which belonged to the insectoid's main base, and most of their territory was still outside the map's range. Shenmang's current location was basically right behind the ass of this main base, huddled together with a bunch of other insignificant little civilizations. Fortunately, there was still time. Shenmang looked at the galaxy map and said in a deep voice, "The insectoid civilization is definitely at war with some other civilization right now. After we enter the prismatic zone and leave the aqua-blue planet, we'll just slowly mine the planets behind the insectoid base, then move along the right side of the map. If we can't win, we dodge. If we can't dodge, we run. Don't tell me we're not even allowed to run away. We'll just abandon the home planet entirely and live on the train. You saw it yourself. Having a fixed base is incredibly dangerous. One slip-up and you eat a main dreadnought cannon blast. When that time comes, we'll just drift through the universe, becoming a wandering civilization. We'll wait until we're strong enough before coming back. Time to sleep." Shin Mang stood up, went to the bathroom for a quick wash, and returned to bed. Even if the sky was falling, he had to sleep first. Rushing wouldn't solve anything. He could only develop at the fastest possible speed. If tomorrow really was the end, then he'd die. What else could he do? That thing was completely unreasonable. Even if the King of Heaven came down, he'd die all the same. If it weren't for the wormhole radar, he wouldn't have even known he was constantly living on the edge of a knife. Earlier, he was still wondering where to go in this vast universe after leaving the aqua-blue planet. Now he didn't have to think about it. Just run. The next phase would be a long, endless journey of fleeing. The universe was huge, yet there was no place for him. Damn insectoids. He had hated these bugs since he was a kid. Sooner or later, there would come a day when he would surround the insectoid civilization in their own territory, making them taste the exact same helplessness he was experiencing right now. Right at that moment, Chunmeng suddenly noticed that a habitable planet on the galaxy map seemed to be moving. He immediately went back to the screen. He zoomed in on that area. Looking closely this time, a habitable planet belonging to the Heaven-equal civilization was moving at high speed, charging straight in the opposite direction of the insectoid civilization's main base. Are they running away? Chunmeng stared at the planet on the screen, his expression a bit weird. It seemed not having a fixed base was better after all. Running away wouldn't require dragging a whole planet along. Just thinking about it was exhausting. But why were all these names like Heaven-slaying civilization, Heaven-equal civilization? They sounded so messy. Didn't they have their own racial names? Like insectoid civilization, human civilization, and so on. Did they not dare to use them? Xiao AI's voice echoed in the train. The mechanical civilization was actually considered a human civilization, but the universe only allows one major civilization of a race to exist. If the mechanical civilization dared to call itself the human civilization, it's highly likely the original human civilization would have immediately sent their army to their borders. They would annihilate the mechanical civilization to ensure their own legitimacy and uniqueness. Ensuring legitimacy is very important. Just relying on the name can prove a civilization's strength, while also attracting a large number of civilizations of the same race to join, strengthening internal cohesion, and so on. Then why does the insectoid civilization dare to use it? Because they are the legitimate ones. No one can beat them. The strong are the legitimate ones. Exactly. Understood. Chunmeng nodded slightly and went back to bed. He had originally thought about rebuilding human civilization in the future, but looking at it now, maybe changing the name to the fuck everything civilization would be more fitting. If he wasn't allowed to call it human civilization, then fine, he'd fuck over all the rules, goddammit. Why did everyone in this universe want to step on his head? Just wait. Sooner or later, there would come a day when he'd fuck over all the other civilizations and rename them all to slave civilizations. The entire universe only needed 2 civilizations, the fuck everything civilization, and the rest as slave civilizations. What about the goblin civilization? Are they legitimate too? Is Daba really that strong? No, Xiao AI replied. They just named themselves that. It's not recognized. For example, right now, the conductor could absolutely call himself the human civilization. No one would bother coming to pick a fight with you. But I promise to help Daba rebuild the goblin civilization. If Daba really restores the goblin civilization in the future, then the conductor will just have another group of enemies. Chunmeng's mouth twitched slightly. He lay down on the bed, hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling and sighing. He hated the feeling that anyone could step on his head. He had to be faster. Fast enough to trample all other civilizations to death. Only then could he sleep peacefully. Otherwise, he couldn't eat well or sleep soundly. In his grogginess, he drifted off to sleep. In his dream, he transmigrated again, this time straight into the insectoids, becoming the brood mother. With just a wave of his hand, hundreds of thousands of random wormholes covered the universe, casually slaughtering other civilizations. What a pity. Morning came. Chunmeng woke up, turned his head to look at the dream stone beside his bed, feeling a bit regretful. The insectoid civilization really did feel incredibly strong. Could he switch sides? That feeling of frantically digging holes was truly exhilarating. He got up, washed his face quickly, lit a cigarette, and sat down in his chair to flip through the train's log. The residents had already started their daily mining work at the portal inside the train and in the outside area. The portal couldn't hold too many people at once. He had currently finished setting up the remaining 48 ore veins, distributing them between the train's portal and the surrounding wilderness. 6,000 residents and 2,000 mining robots had begun working frantically. It's just that the efficiency was still too slow. Chunmeng looked at the screen. Currently, the train had 26 million units of iron ore left. This was the balance after mining the level 5 iron mine yesterday, upgrading the wormhole radar, and returning over 20 million units of iron ore to Neon City. If he wanted to speed things up, there was only one way: build more mining robots. Otherwise, these 50 mines would still take him nearly a month, and time was something he couldn't afford to waste. The cost to build one mining robot was 2,500 units of iron ore. Last time, he spent 5 million units of iron ore to build 2,000 mining robots. This time, he went bigger, directly throwing in 15 million units of iron ore to build another 6,000 mining robots. Then, he spent another 3 million units of iron ore to craft a level 1 energy stone for each robot. Mining robots were extremely energy efficient. A single level 1 energy stone could sustain continuous operation for 180 days. As a massive swarm of cheap robots poured out of the train, the mining speed instantly skyrocketed several times over. He activated all the mine refresh tickets, and over 40 level 5 mines instantly surrounded the Hongxing Hao. He couldn't wait any longer. Qinmeng looked at the control panel and ordered, "Tell old Chu to get ready. When Neon City officially opens next time, announce that from now on, it will operate on a daily basis. At the same time, all the train's mining operations will be entirely replaced by mining robots. The train members will have to find suitable jobs for themselves. Some can handle daily life on the train, some can work as cyber miners, and others can go to Neon City to work in sales or become bosses. Tell old Chu to get everything sorted out in the next few days. Time is tight, and the task is heavy." Understood. Xiao AI's voice echoed through the train. "There's one more thing. The cosmic signal receivers in Car 12 have been manufactured. 10 sets in total. How much can they produce daily?" Qinmeng asked. "If we don't enter an encounter map and operate at full capacity, they can produce about 4.8 million units of iron ore per day." Qinmeng frowned slightly. That number isn't small. Over 100 million units of iron ore a month. But it's still only equivalent to a single level 5 iron mine. Compared to his current needs, it was still far from enough. But whatever, even a mosquito's leg is meat. Is there any hope for Uncle Lee's zombie scanner? He's hit a bottleneck. Still hasn't made a breakthrough. Qinmeng sighed softly, thought for a moment, and said, "Then let's leave it at that. Prioritize finishing this batch of mines, then we'll head into the red zone." Right at that moment, the train radio channel in the Stone Man zone suddenly blew up. Ever since a train accidentally got close to the Hongxing Hao and discovered over 40 level 5 mines surrounding it, the captain of that train instantly went crazy. Just as he was about to approach, his screen blared a warning. "Warning! Warning! Incoming hostile fire detected. Estimated impact in 2 seconds. Attack intensity, level 20. No recommended countermeasures." In that moment, he felt absolute despair. Fortunately, at the very last second, the shell changed trajectory and landed right next to his train. When he looked up, he saw a fighter jet swooping down from the sky, and not far behind it, over 40 other fighter jets were hovering. Without a second word, he immediately fled as far as he could. Whoever dared to get close was definitely dead meat. Only after escaping the danger zone did he broadcast the entire incident on the train radio channel. Since they couldn't send photos or videos, no one believed him at first. Over 40 level 5 mines gathered in one place? It sounded completely absurd. But very quickly, quite a few other trains went to verify it themselves. It was true. This time, the entire train radio channel completely exploded. The Hongxing Hao was incredibly strong, everyone knew that. But in their minds, the Hongxing Hao was just a top-tier team in the Stone Man zone. Who would have thought its power would suddenly skyrocket to this extent, directly possessing over 40 level 20 fighter jets? Then who the hell could even fight them? Many people stared intently at the radio channel, hoping some brave soul would step up and say something like, "Share a piece of the pie with everyone," so they could jump on the bandwagon. But after waiting for a long time, no one spoke up, because everyone understood that the first person to stand out would definitely die a miserable death. Qinmeng scrolled through the news on the radio channel, completely unfazed. He casually picked up a mulberry from the tray Xiao Fong brought over and popped it into his mouth. After witnessing the sheer dominance of the Zerg civilization with his own eyes, he really had no interest in these childish squabbles. His target was the Zerg civilization. With the Hongxing Hao's current strength, it was nothing in front of the Zerg. But if he wanted to flatten the entire Stone Man zone within 3 minutes, it wouldn't be a problem at all. They were just a bunch of weaklings. As for that guy on the radio channel, the sky was about to fall, yet he still had the mind to think about buying women. Damn it, If you only had a few ounces of meat, fine, but he had 3 pounds of it. He couldn't help but think about it. In the train's development, today was a very important day. Many residents looked at the massive number of mining robots being continuously deployed with complicated expressions. They all understood that when there were only 2,000 robots, they could still continue mining. But once these 6,000 robots officially took their positions, they would be completely out of a job. Losing this job, they had no idea how they would survive in the future. But they knew one thing very well. The sense of safety and stability they had worked so hard to build in this apocalypse was being shattered. Before, they were used to the daily routine of mining. It was a bit tiring, but it gave them hope and safety. But now, where they would go from here was a complete question mark. Such was the tide of the times. A middle-aged woman leaned on her pickaxe, looking at the mining robots mechanically digging for or not far away. She said softly, "Human strength can't resist the progress of the times. Robots can replace mechanical labor, but they can't completely replace humans. I've already found a job in Neon City. Once Neon City officially operates daily, I've already secured a job there." "Boss," a man standing next to her spoke up hesitantly. "That doesn't sound like an easy job." "It's all right," the middle-aged woman replied calmly. "I did this job before the apocalypse anyway. Generally, bosses are mostly women. Customers feel less threatened when they see a female boss. In the past, we had to pay all sorts of protection fees to the higher-ups. In Neon City, there's none of that. I just need to focus on introducing clients. We have to find a way to survive regardless. My next goal is to try and double the brothel's profits. As for me, I don't even know what I can do. Take it slow, it'll be fine." The middle-aged woman comforted him. "After all, we're all residents with ID numbers under 1,000. Boss Meng definitely won't let us starve. The train is in a phase of rapid development. There will definitely be gaps to fill. The growth of any major faction isn't a step-by-step climb, but a sudden leap across several major tiers. There will inevitably be a transitional phase and an adjustment period in between. As long as we get through this phase, with our status as residents under number 1,000, our future position and treatment on the Hongxing how definitely won't be low." True. 12 days later. Under the high-intensity mining, the 50 mines had been completely hollowed out. Under the starry sky, the Hongxing house stopped in the wilderness of the Stone Man Zone, preparing to enter the Red Zone tonight. Before leaving, he still needed to do another round of upgrades for the train's modules. Chen Meng sat alone in his chair, looking at the control screen. At this moment, 10,000 mining robots were quietly docked in a newly built Level 10 spatial portal in Car 10. He named that place the miner's base. Then, he spent another 5 million units of iron or to build 2,000 more mining robots, rounding it up to exactly 10,000. In the short term, it was more than enough. The resources on the Hongxing Hao had also reached a new peak. 960 million units of iron ore, 1.1025 billion units of wood, 990 million units of copper ore, 1.123 billion units of crimson core rock, and 1.101 billion units of titanium crystals. Just the 900 million units of copper ore alone were enough for him to fight an incredibly brutal battle. As for the wood and crimson core rock, there was no way he could use them all up anytime soon. The first thing was to upgrade the armor. Level 18 armor wasn't enough. He had to raise it another level. From level 17 to level 18, the cost per car was 30 million units of iron ore. From level 18 to level 19, the cost per car was 50 million. For a total of 16 cars, after having the cost, it was nearly 400 million units of iron ore. As 400 million units of iron ore in the storage turned into fine powder and merged into the train, the armor module's level successfully reached level 19. The area he was about to enter, the Red Zone Sunset Coast, had monsters with a maximum level of only 18. Originally, he wanted to upgrade it straight to level 20. But when he looked at the cost, 100 million units of iron ore per car, totaling 800 million, his balance was completely insufficient. Sigh. Chen Meng exhaled softly, rubbing his temples, his voice tinged with helplessness. Has this princess, too, never been to the front lines? Has she never tasted what it's like to start from scratch? If she wanted to leave resources as an inheritance, why leave so much wood, and crimson core rock. Wouldn't it have been better to just leave 50 level 5 iron mines? That would be way more practical than leaving a little bit of everything. He could imagine the scene of Princess Tua building her train, receiving a rare train token and a massive amount of resources since childhood, then directly building a top-tier train, completely oblivious to what resources were needed most in the early stages. Too extravagant. In the entire mechanical civilization, only a very small number of people upgraded their train's AI assistant to level 200. And yet, the AI assistant of Princess Tua, someone who had never been to the front lines, was also level 200. In Chun Mang's eyes, this was purely a waste of resources, the kind of existence that deserved to be defeated. Hoarding so many resources without going to the front lines, what was the point of keeping them? According to the data in the AI database, before level 100, each upgrade consumed 1 Murphy stone. Combined with the corresponding upgrade resources, it could break the level cap by 1 level. But after level 100, breaking the limit required more than just 1 Murphy stone. The required amount increased exponentially with the level. Theoretically, if the mechanical civilization poured the entire race's strength into it, they could absolutely upgrade a module to level 800 or even 1000. But that was meaningless. A war front stretching tens of thousands of light years couldn't be dictated by a single overly high-level module. If one point was too strong, the other points would naturally fall behind and die faster. The higher the level, the more obvious the marginal effect. For example, with food, a meal costing 100,000 versus one costing $10. In terms of taste, the expensive one is indeed better. But the difference is at most 2 or 3 times better, while the cost increases by far more than just 2 or 3 times. Unless someone could upgrade without needing Murphy stones. This was exactly Chun Mang's biggest reliance, giving him the confidence to slowly develop behind the Zerg's main base. Many of the lifestyle modules on his train stopped at level 100 and weren't upgraded further for this very reason. For instance, the moldy bread production line. Upgrading from level 1 to level 100 cost 505,000 units of iron ore. But going from level 100 to level 101 directly required 500,000 units of iron ore. Level 100 was the threshold for all modules. Once crossed, both the upgrade resources and the Murphy stones consumed would increase terrifyingly. Naturally, Chun Mang wasn't stupid enough to spend hundreds of millions of units of iron, or just for a slightly tastier piece of bread. A little tastier, but a whole lot of pain for the wallet. Because of this, Tua being so proud of her level 200 AI assistant actually made sense. It was indeed something to be proud of. It's just that, it was too wasteful. Moreover, according to the information in the database, the entire mechanical civilization had fallen into severe corruption in its late stages. It was highly likely that a massive number of officials had embezzled resources meant to be shipped to the front lines. Everyone thought that with such a massive war front, missing their tiny bit of resources wouldn't make a difference. If 1 or 2 people did it, it really wouldn't matter. But if everyone thought that way, the speed of their defeat would only accelerate. Looking at it from this angle, the Zerg civilization's ruling philosophy was somewhat more advanced. Purely dictatorial, a one-voice rule. Whatever the broodmother said was the absolute command. Those below only had the duty to execute it. There was absolutely no room for corruption to exist. Such a civilization might have a very low happiness index, but its combat power was definitely terrifyingly strong. Highly efficient, cold-blooded, and leaving no leeway for anyone to skim off the top. Poor kid. Chun Mang stepped off the train, stuck 3 cigarettes into the empty ground, treating it as a farewell to Tua. In his mind, he had roughly sketched out an image of her, like a princess who grew up in the lap of luxury. Before her civilization was destroyed, she still wanted to do something, initiating the Dawn Project. Regardless, he had received a favor from her, so he didn't plan on judging her too much. This was enough. It's just that if anyone on the Hongxing Hao dared to waste his resources like that, then tomorrow, he would directly send that person over to Zhongyiren to play the male lead in a movie set in the era of Louis XVI. Once on stage, their head would roll. No negotiations. A level 20 venomous drone fighter required 2.5 million units of titanium crystals to build. And right now, Chen Meng had exactly 1 billion units. When he pressed the control button, the venomous drone fighter production line in Car 10's hangar immediately started operating at full capacity. One by one, the fighter jets were rapidly assembled on the production line, siphoning out 100 million units of titanium crystals to build the fighters. Instantly, 40 more units rolled off the assembly line, added to the original 41, that made a total of 81 venomous drone fighters with level 20 attack intensity. 80 of them possessed hovering capabilities. They were currently patrolling nonstop in the airspace above the train. After entering the red zone, Chen Meng's confidence had clearly boosted quite a bit. The venomous drone fighters could be recycled. However many resources were spent to build them, the exact same amount would be refunded upon recycling. Theoretically, he could use all his current titanium crystals to build fighter jets. Later, if he needed titanium for other purposes, he could just recycle them. However, each fighter jet required a level 4 energy stone, which was equivalent to 500,000 units of iron ore. 1 billion titanium crystals could build 400 fighter jets, but those 400 jets would consume 200 million units of iron ore for energy stones. Too expensive. Building them was fine, but maintaining them was impossible. A patrol fleet of 80 jets was more than enough. Chen Meng sent a coordinate to Air Dan via the train radio channel, then drove toward the intersection between the Red Zone's Sunset Coast and the Stone Man Zone. He was preparing to upgrade the train to level 16, then officially ventured deep into the Red Zone. To upgrade the train to level 16, the upgrade had to be completed within the Red Zone. This was a hard requirement. Before leaving, he still had a few things to take care of. Chen Meng looked down at the Doomsday marriage certificates in his drawer. He needed to help Air Dan's train upgrade to level 15 as well, so Air Dan could enter the Red Zone with him and assist in scouting encounter maps. It's just that upgrading a train to level 15 was quite troublesome. It was restricted by the number of residents and required 3 couples who had used the Doomsday marriage certificate. Without his help, it was almost impossible for Air Dan to fulfill this requirement. Under the starry sky, the Fuck Everything traveling frog quietly parked next to the Fuck Everything honking Hao. One large, one small. The contrast was so stark it was almost comical. Chen Meng lit a cigarette, leaned against his train, looked at Air Dan's train, and chuckled. Actually, it looks pretty good. At first glance, it looks a bit tacky and ugly, but once you get used to it, it has a certain flavor. Look at it long enough, and it becomes a vibe. The uglier it is, the more it catches the eye. During these days of mining, he had Zhang Yiren write 3 more scripts and gave them to 3 couples among the train's residents. They had all entered the virtual combat training space to dream. They could wake up at any moment now. As long as they were transferred to Air Dan's train the moment they woke up and then received the Doomsday marriage certificate, this task would be smoothly completed. It really feels like it. Air Dan stood beside him, also leaning against the train. He sighed with deep empathy. It feels like I'm rebelling against the hardships of fate. Like every curse word we blurt out isn't actually meant to scold someone, but rather a silent roar against this damn life. You cursed out loud. How is that silent? It's a state of mind. Besides, Air Dan paused for a moment, then continued seriously. After having the same prefix as the honking Hao, I really feel a bit closer to it. Standing next to the honking Hao even feels like coming home. Completely different from how it felt before. But Boss Meng, what did you mean earlier when you talked about civilization? Oh, Chen Meng just remembered. It seemed he hadn't told Air Dan about the civilizations yet. He paused for a moment, then pointed at the twinkling stars overhead. Do you see those stars? I see them. Those aren't stars. Then what are they? They're bombs, the kind that could go off at any moment. The good news is, the monsters currently on the aqua blue planet are just a batch of insect eggs sent by the Zerg civilization. They're not the main army at all, not even considered regular troops. Following me is still relatively safe. The bad news is, we are right behind the main base of the Zerg civilization. 10 minutes later, Air Dan stood in the cabin of the honking Hao, looking at the galaxy map on the control screen, and muttered, I get it now. Those Federation bastards really should be dragged out and shot, every single one of them. Before the apocalypse, Did they seriously not realize there were so many civilizations surrounding the aqua blue planet? The sight before him, combined with what Boss Mang had said over the past 10 minutes, completely shattered his worldview. But thinking about it, throughout this apocalypse, almost everything that could be destroyed had already been wiped out, so he quickly accepted it. Then isn't our situation extremely dangerous? Exactly, Chen Mang sighed softly. Theoretically, right now we're like Schrodinger's cat, existing in a superposition of life and death. The moment the box is opened, our life and death will be decided. We have to quickly reach the 7-color zone, then prepare to evacuate this place. Wait until we've grown strong enough, then come back and wage war against the Zerg civilization. Erdan hesitated for a moment before asking. The civilization of the aqua blue planet, surely only you, Boss Mang, have the ability to rebuild it. Are you planning to name it the fuck everything civilization? What? Sounds pretty good, right? A bit crude, but I kinda like it. Chen Mang sat in his chair, looking at the galaxy map on the screen, and chuckled. I feel like human civilization might be a good backup option, Boss Mang. Someone won't let me name it that, so I have to fuck them up first. After I fuck them up, then I can call it human civilization. That person is really arrogant. Yeah, really arrogant. All right, enough of that. Chen Mang patted Dan's shoulder, changing the subject. Go check how the upgrade on your train is coming along. How could I actually call it the fuck everything civilization? What if we interact with other civilizations later and it makes us look too uncultured? I was just messing with you. I've already thought of a better name. What name? The Mang Mang civilization. From behind came Dan's doubtful voice. Boss Mang. Actually, I think the fuck everything civilization sounds pretty good too. Chen Mang chuckled softly, didn't answer, and just stepped out of the cabin. How it was named didn't matter. The final name absolutely had to be human civilization. As for those names just now, they were just to tease the kids. The orthodox lineage of humanity must belong to him. After all, he had lived 2 lives, and in both, he was a true human. If his transmigration wasn't through time, but only through space, then he could even find the blue planet in the universe again and directly pull it into the domain of his civilization. Very good. All the territory would be his, and he particularly loved this game of claiming territory. Right then, Erdan's traveling frog had successfully upgraded from level 12 to level 15, consuming a total of 15 million units of iron ore. The train's armor had previously been upgraded to level 14. Your armor can't be upgraded any further for now. Chen Mang tilted his head to look at Erdan beside him. There aren't many Murphy stones left on the train. Your armor will have to wait. But the advantage of your train is its agility and high speed. Plus, you don't need to engage in direct combat, so having slightly lower armor should be fine. If you run into danger, call for help immediately. Even if you temporarily can't reach me, Xiao AI will dispatch venomous drone fighters to back you up. Erdan nodded seriously. I don't plan on fighting other trains or monsters anyway. I'll just focus on scouting and counter maps. Level 14 armor is enough. Who knows, there might be quite a few trains in the red zone that don't even have level 14 armor. That's very true. Chen Mang nodded with deep feeling. The red zone indeed had many trains with powerful firepower, but their defensive modules hadn't reached level 14. They looked fierce, but were actually just glass cannons. Wait a minute. He suddenly remembered something and asked, I recall your train's top speed is 6,000 kilometers per hour. Are there any requirements for the armor level? Yes, but level 14 is enough. My top speed relies on the train's ultimate skill to boost it. When the ultimate skill is activated, it automatically protects the train. Got it. Chen Mang didn't say anything more to Erdan. He turned around and walked straight toward his own train. Let's move out. He sat in the control room, looked at the 4 large words Sunset Coast displayed on the center screen, and slowly pushed the control lever. The Hongxing Hao, like a mechanical giant dragon, roared for the first time as it charged into the red zone. The higher the zone's level, the higher the level of its monsters and mines. When the train entered the red zone and stopped at the border, the sound of ocean waves crashing against the rocky reefs echoed in their ears like thunder. This was a coastal area. At the same time, Erdan's train turned into a streak of golden light, shooting straight into the distance. Let's go check out the ocean. Chen Meng turned the train around, steering the Hongxinghao toward the coastal cliffs. The enemy detection radar and resource scanning radar inside the train continuously beeped. Glancing at the screen, most of them were low-tier level 16 monsters, along with some level 4 trash mines. But very quickly, he paused slightly. The maximum monster level in the red zone was only level 18. Level 16 monsters were actually not low at all, and the capacity of a level 4 mine was basically up to 10 million units, which wasn't a small amount either. Then he chuckled, feeling a bit helpless inside. The Dead Tree Meat Spring encounter map had pushed his standards too high. He had killed over 1,000 level 19 zombies, so how could he possibly care about level 16 monsters? He had already mined 50 level 5 mines. A level 4 mine right now really couldn't get him excited anymore. Humans were just like that. Once you've tasted the good stuff, it's very hard to go back to eating ordinary food. Under the starry sky, the Hongxinghao slowly came to a halt on the cliff. The seawater transitioned from deep blue to pitch black, almost blending into one with the sky, bringing an intense sense of oppression. The fishy smell of the sea filled his nose, like a void behemoth opening its massive, bloody maw. Chen Meng stepped out of the cabin alone, stood by the cliff, and looked at the endlessly churning sea in the distance. It had been a very long time since he last saw the ocean. Perhaps because he was born inland, he had always yearned for the sea since childhood. He liked this area. It was dangerous, yet carried the scent of freedom. Right then, Xiao AI also stepped out of the cabin and said, "The enemy detection radar has found many high-level monsters at the bottom of the sea." At the same time, it also detected some rare minerals. Chen Meng turned his head expressionlessly to look at Xiao AI. He stayed silent for a long time before speaking. "I am the captain of this train. Do you think I don't know the things you know? Do you really have to report work right when I'm trying to relax? Seriously. All right, let's head back." He returned to the control cabin and looked at the information displayed on the screen. In the deep sea ahead, there were many level 18 monsters. This was also the limit of this zone. This sea didn't entirely belong to the Sunset Coast. Only a small portion fell within its boundaries. The rest belonged to other zones. And at the bottom of the sea, there existed a special type of mineral he had never seen before. Marine green Oregon, located about 10,000 meters from the coast, 30,000 meters deep at the bottom of the sea, there was a level 5 marine green or mine. "That's really deep," Chen Meng muttered. After a while, he asked, "Does your database have any information on the uses of marine green ore?" "Limited." Xiao AI stood beside him, her expression clearly showing a bit of grievance, but she still answered hurriedly. It was precisely because she knew the value of marine green ore was extremely high that she couldn't help but step off the train to remind him. As a result, she got scolded. A classic case of good intentions being misunderstood. "First, I need to briefly explain to you, Boss Meng, about the formation of mines. Mines are formed due to the leakage of a planet's core energy. You already know this, Boss Meng. But the mines on the aqua blue planet were artificially ripened early because the mechanical civilization's shuttle injected a special serum into the planet's core, thereby forcibly accelerating the formation of various types of mines in a short period of time. However, this method usually cannot create mines of very high levels, and the quantity is also very limited. The core energy of the aqua blue planet originally didn't leak out. In the universe, only planets whose core energy doesn't leak, locked deep within the core, have the basic conditions to become habitable planets. Such planets are very few in number. The vast majority of planets have their core energy in a state of leakage. This energy dissipates into space, becoming nourishment for void behemoths. A small number of planets have leaking core energy, but it gets sealed right on the planet itself. Those planets are called star mines. Any star mine has a massive number of high-level mines with extremely abundant yields, even reaching the point where there's a mine every step you take. Mines are divided into many types, such as iron ore, copper ore, etc. Among them, iron ore is the most important and has the highest demand. As for other rare minerals, they are only used in very limited fields. Marine green ore is a rare mineral that can only be generated deep at the bottom of the sea on certain planets. The upgrading and manufacturing of the Doomsday Ion Cannon. A rainbow-grade module, absolutely requires the use of marine green organ. Chen Meng frowned slightly, pondered for a moment, and asked, the Doomsday Ion Cannon? Yes, it's very powerful. How powerful? In the database, the main cannon on Princess Tuo's train was a level 78 Doomsday Ion Cannon. Its destructive power was immense. Tell me its specific effects. What effects? I mean, in your data, when Princess Tuo fired this thing, did it kill a void behemoth, or did it directly obliterate an entire planet? Xiao AI stood beside him, hesitating for a moment before saying, there are no specific effects. Princess Tu never fired this weapon. We only know it's very powerful. Most firepower modules consume iron and copper ore. Only this firepower module consumes marine green organ. What a fucking waste of resources. Chen Meng couldn't help but sigh again. She was already so old, yet never went to the battlefield. Pouring resources into her train all day long, what was it all for? But very quickly, he remembered something else. What's the upgrade limit for rainbow grade modules? The level cap for red grade modules is 20, gold grade is 30, pink grade is 50, and rainbow grade is 100. 100 levels. Chen Meng nodded thoughtfully. At most, it can be upgraded to level 100. Princess Tuo only upgraded it to level 78. That's acceptable. Not quite at the level of throwing money out the window. Upgrade. Taking a deep breath, he temporarily ignored the marine green or mine deep at the bottom of the sea. That mine couldn't be harvested right now anyway. His train could dive underwater, but how to mine it was the real problem. The moment the mining robots left the train's waterproof shield, they'd instantly be crushed into steel pancakes. As for the residents, needless to say, they'd become meat patties. Currently, there were no suitable mining methods. He'd just upgrade the train to level 16 first. He couldn't wait any longer. He really wanted to quickly reach the 7-color zone, unify the globe, leave the aqua blue planet, and then come back to mine that star mine. Chen Meng looked at the requirements to upgrade the train to level 16. Upgrade conditions: consume 7 million units of level 3 iron ore. The total level of all modules in the train must exceed 240. Compared to the requirements for level 15, this time was much simpler. He only needed 7 million units of iron ore. When the 7 million units of iron ore were consumed, 2 familiar lines of text instantly appeared on the control screen. Your train has upgraded to level 16. No new craftable modules have been unlocked at this time. Level 16 already. Chen Meng stared blankly at the control panel, muttering to himself. The strongest mechanical train of the mechanical civilization's leader was level 91. It feels like it's not that far off. Level 16 compared to level 91. Seems like it's just a stretch away. A very long stretch, that is. After reaching level 16, no new buttons appeared on the control panel. That meant no new functions were unlocked, not even any craftable modules. In other words, aside from a slight increase in base speed, this upgrade brought almost no changes. Chen Meng glanced at the requirements for level 17. They were almost identical to level 16, except the iron ore requirement increased to 8 million units. Upgrade again. Your train has upgraded to level 17. No new craftable modules have been unlocked at this time. Level 17 now. Still no new functions or modules. This time, Chen Meng barely paused. He directly took out 9 million units of iron ore and upgraded the train from level 17 to level 18 in one breath. This time, there was finally a difference. Your train has upgraded to level 18. New craftable modules will be unlocked. A new button appeared on the control panel, along with a few new craftable modules. Moreover, the requirements to upgrade to level 19 became noticeably stricter. Obviously, level 18 was a major threshold. Chen Meng sat in his chair, smoking a cigarette as he looked at the control screen. Consuming a total of 24 million units of iron ore, he had upgraded the train to level 18 in one go. From now on, he was finally a level 18 train. In his mind, level 18 trains were always the big bosses. And now, he had finally become the big boss he once admired. Just as he had predicted, that train captain who was frantically collecting kittens in Neon City did it for the Void Behemoths. When the train reached level 18, a new button named Void Behemoth appeared on the control panel. A completely new function was unlocked. He had placed it in Xiao AI's Mecha Research Center. The effect was very simple. Inputting different types of young animals would yield a certain probability of mutating them into different void behemoths. For example, inputting a tiger cub could mutate it into a D-rank void behemoth, the star-treading sword tiger. The success rate was 0.007%. Inputting a kitten could mutate it into a D-rank void behemoth, the nine-tails. The success rate was 0.004%. Inputting a baby crocodile could mutate it into a C-rank void behemoth, the heaven-flipping crocodile. The success rate was 0.0009%. There were only these three options in total. Shen Meng pondered as he looked at the three options on the screen. No wonder that guy was crazily collecting kittens. The mutation probability for kittens was indeed the highest. If one's luck was good enough, throwing in 70 or 80,000 of them could yield a void behemoth. However, the full name of the mutated creature was Mutated Variant Void Behemoth. Its potential and combat power were both weaker than a normal void behemoth. But in exchange, they would be absolutely loyal to the train and its captain, becoming killing machines incapable of betrayal. They were all quite weak, though. Shen Meng made his assessment, then scooped up Xiao Lu, the S-rank void behemoth beside him, into his arms. He stroked it and gently pinched its pink little mouth. He turned to look at Xiao AI and asked, "Does your database have any records on the habits of satellite beasts? Why do I feel like Xiao Lu looks a bit depressed? Ever since it woke up, it hasn't gone anywhere. It just sleeps or zones out all day. There are no records on their habits, but this is a very normal situation." Xiao AI replied calmly, "You can't tell if Xiao Lu is depressed. That's clearly just laziness. It's still an infant beast, after all. And during the infant stage, isn't it normal to do nothing but sleep and zone out?" "True." Shen Meng nodded, then placed Xiao Lu on the chair next to him. "You're still the most badass. Even if that nine-tails gets created, it definitely wouldn't be able to beat you." He glanced at the time on the control screen and said softly, "Is Old Chu ready? Today is the first time Neon City officially opens fully. Almost everything is ready. We're just waiting for midnight to open." According to the original plan, mining the 50 level 5 mines had taken him over 10 days. During those 10-plus days, Neon City had opened twice, and all the profits were kept in the city. He hadn't withdrawn any of it yet. After tonight's opening, starting tomorrow, Neon City would officially open daily. The highest number of train captains entering Neon City had reached 5,172. It was about time it could operate stably every day. Shen Meng looked at the iron ore balance on the train's control panel, 525 million units. He had no intention of staying at the red zone's Sunset Coast for too long to mine. Instead, he was preparing to charge straight into the yellow zone. Upgrade the train at the fastest speed possible, then craft rainbow-grade firepower modules. For example, Nuclear Shield, a gold-grade module, requires 100,000 units of iron ore to craft. Nuclear Main Cannon, a gold-grade module, requires 100,000 units of iron ore to craft. Nuclear Wheels, a gold-grade module, requires 100,000 units of iron ore to craft. The Nuclear Trio, all gold-grade modules, were the upgraded versions of the Star Ring Energy Shield, the Comet Main Cannon, and the Purgatory Wheels. At the same time, they would consume a massive amount of resources. But Shen Meng had absolutely no intention of upgrading these things. He wanted to charge straight into the 7-color zone and directly get rainbow-grade modules. This approach would allow the train to skip the entire intermediate development phase, creating a true leap forward. Of course, the prerequisite was surviving. Other trains didn't dare to do this because their defensive module levels were too low. They simply didn't dare to skip zones to run. It was too easy to get destroyed halfway. But he was different. Relying on his extremely high armor level, he planned to directly bypass the intermediate development phase and head straight for the 7-color zone. If he was going to upgrade, he'd upgrade to the best. As for those transitional intermediate modules, in his eyes, they were all a waste of resources. Shen Meng looked at the requirements to upgrade the train to level 19. Upgrade conditions: consume 10 million units of level 3 iron ore. The total level of all modules in the train must exceed 300. must have completed an S difficulty mission, and at least one gold grade module must be upgraded to level 20. These requirements were already fully met. The upgrade conditions might be very strict for others, but with the Hongxinghao's current potential, there was almost no pressure at all, especially the condition of completing an S difficulty mission. Previously, he had sold level 1 mines to other trains so they could complete their S-rank missions and get the Rui prospecting token. If those trains that bought the mines ever managed to upgrade to level 18, they would probably feel that their past choice was a massive bargain. When Neon City closes this evening, I'll withdraw all the profits, upgrade the armor to level 20, and then head straight to the yellow zone. That fast? Xiao AI stood beside him, a bit stunned. Are we not mining that level 5 marine green or mine under the sea? That's a rare mineral. Wait until I reach the 7-color zone. The Hongxinghao will be able to ignore zone restrictions and go wherever it wants. It won't be too late to come back and mine it then. Besides, no other train can mine it right now anyway. What about Air Dan? Before we leave, buy some Murphy stones in Neon City and upgrade his train's armor to level 18. Let him stay at the Sunset Coast for now and slowly scout for maps. Understood. Didn't Min Duo just get back? Call him over here. After restocking a batch of Neon City entrance tickets and resting for a few dozen minutes, he already set off again. Damn. Neon City officially opened. Chen Meng stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window of the Sun City skyscraper, looking down at the bustling crowd below. After a long period of testing, Neon City had become much more refined, and today was its first official opening. The free trade market over there had started collecting transaction fees. For transactions between train captains, both the buyer and the seller were charged 1.5%, totaling 3%. The people walking on the streets were also significantly more numerous than in the early stages. Even in the Mechanical Civilization's AI database, rainbow-grade modules were rated as the strongest. There was no grade higher than that. And reaching this stage was considered the true beginning. In other words, the curtain was officially rising from here on out. Everything before this was just a transitional and adaptation phase. This feeling was like a game he used to play in his old world, Rognus. When the level reached the cap, the real game finally began. His train's development speed was incredibly fast. In less than a year, it had grown from a level 1 train to a level 18 train. Chen Meng believed that on the entire Aqua Blue planet, no train had developed faster than his. It's just that he still wasn't satisfied. He felt he could be even faster. That Zerg civilization was like the sword of Damocles hanging over his head. If he didn't quickly find a safe place to hide, he wouldn't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Currently, the highest train level in Neon City is only level 20? Yes, Uncle Lee, standing beside him, quickly flipped through the notebook in his hand.